Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. Hope you're well. Who's watching? I'm going to watch on catch up. I'm joined by quite possibly the most dynamic duo this podcast has, and William Ross. How are you both?
No bad, kid.
Hey, mate. Club's fucking testing my patience this week, and there's a bag of cans in the fridge that's wasted the new until next week. But other than that, we're all right.
I've just been sitting at the back waiting for a week. Just waiting.
Just fucking sitting about.
I know it's a bag, but I went for a box of cans. I just want Rogers and a nice box of cans.
You're a very large man. That looks tiny in your hands there.
Do you think so?
Aye.
It's a tiny box, but Ross has the bigger cans,
dumpy cans.
Which is a bit Ross, show your can. Let me see your can again.
Is that a euphemism, Stephen?
I reckon this is going to be one of these shows.
Get your cans out for the boys.
Wow. Look at the size difference there. Same, it's mental. But cheers, everybody. We're going to talk Celtic. And I know people are obviously wanting to talk about Brendan Rodgers and things like that. And let's be honest here, people. Every Celtic podcast, Celtic outlet, Celtic news outlet is talking about that. So we just thought we'd take a break from it because I think we're all melted. We're all angry that it's not been announced. We all want the stock exchange to be open all weekend so we could do this publicly, but it seems like we're going to have to wait until next week. So we just thought we would dive in with a wee end of season review and go over Postecoglou's final season with Celtic Football Club and talk about how it made us feel winning a world record 8th treble, which is a fantastic achievement for any level of football, and Celtic Football Club are the first team to do that on a high scale. So, let's get stuck right into it, and we'll start, Willie. Now, before I go on to the names, with the summer transfer window, we'll have the likes of, we're saying, Jada, Carter Vickers. How vital was it to get them over the line, and also the outlay of £6 million, 12 million basically for the two of them? I think that's a decent outlay for Celtic anyway.
Absolutely, in this day and age, and the way that fees are bounced about, especially in that league down south. To get the likes of Jota for that price, this last 4 months of last season, pretty much every podcast we sat in, we talked about how we need to sign both of them permanently. We even went through we even went through talks about if you had to choose one or the other. Thanks, Pam. If you had to choose one or the other, who would it be? And we were toiling, and to get them signed was it was massive coming into this season because they've both been immense. I know we're going to talk about the season as a whole, but either they were both immense, and both of them could have made my player of the season. Jota going forward with his assists and goals, and Jota scored some vital big goals this season, and then it showed the tail end of the season. I know we made a lot of changes, but whenever we didn't have CCV in the team, we were a totally different side. So it was absolutely it was a must that we got them in the summer, and to get them for the price we got them is absolutely unbelievable. But that's what Ange does. He finds us the bargains, and as he has with other players. But yeah, having the two are vital, and they were absolutely colossal during the whole season.
Yeah, I think for signing wise, Ross, you can see the sweat in my head, by the way. I'm going to lose weight doing a podcast, and that's never happened before. But to get the figures over the line, and Jada, obviously, there was lots of rumours he was going back to Benfica to try, and then the pictures were coming out. He was playing football 5-a-sides in New York with Celtic fans, and he was on holiday here, there, and everywhere talking Celtic, and then figures went under the radar. I think he was probably the one we all thought would go over the line, but just to get them two was a good boost to go into the season. As well, he said, both of them turned out to be vital for us going forward.
Aye, I think we knew that. We had enough conversations about, we spoke for a while about one or the other. What one would you prefer? Because we didn't think we would buy both of them, but obviously it transpired that we did, and it was vital. And you touched on Jota there being away on holiday and stuff, and it sort of didn't drag out because probably Celtic knew that he was coming or whatever, but it took a wee while for us to find out. Similar what we're going through now with Brendan Rodgers. you know that it's going to happen, or you're pretty sure. Well, everybody except for you is pretty sure, but that's another story. But you're just waiting for that announcement, and it was similar. You were just waiting for that to be announced, and it did. They got them over the line, and Jota obviously chipped in with goals and assists, and that's the things that you probably see the most. But Carter Vickers' part that he played in the season was every bit as vital, and probably I couldn't separate both of them and just say one was better than the other. They both did their jobs absolutely outstandingly well, and like I think it was Wally had said there, to get both of them for $6 million, I think probably at the time I would have expected to pay $6 million for them because how the sort of the trajectory of their careers had went up to that point. But you're looking at them now, they're worth far more than £6 million, and it looks like a snip. But aye, both outstanding signings, and obviously I don't know if you're going to talk about other guys that were brought in, but they were bought. Personally, for me, you've spent £12 million there. Celtic probably they maybe could have went a bit more braver in the window in terms of getting ready for the Champions League, but they too were bought for the Champions League. It didn't quite work out this time around, but I think, as we'll again touch on, I think we gave a decent account of ourselves in that tournament, but just didn't quite get the results. But they too, in my opinion, were bought for that level, and like we're going to next season, if we keep a hold of the both of them, they'll do well in that level. What was aye, they'll do well at that level next year. Jota he's cut out for that definitely, and for me, Carter Vickers is as well. Hopefully, I'm proved right, but time will tell.
No, 100%. Danielle was in very early on there saying she's not going to credit Ange with the signings and give it more to our scout network. But I think that, to be fair, Postecoglou had a big say in who came in the door. He was in charge of all that in terms of transfers in and out. But other people, Ross, who come in were the likes of, Haksabanovic, Aaron Moy, Benjamin Siegrist, Morchance, Iwata, Kobayashi, obviously different times of the season and stuff. But coming to you, Willie, Aaron Moy was one of the guys who came in on a free and very experienced player, very underwhelming to be fair. But I do agree with Ross in the sense that I thought that maybe last season would have been the perfect time to maybe push the boat out. And I know what Ross is saying in terms of the outlays we did for Jota and Carter Vickers, but you'd think that maybe we could push the boat out for a bit more. Looking at the fees, some of them are free transfers or loan signings and stuff. So I know we spent £12 million, but we didn't really do much else in terms of people that come in to improve the first team.
The actual first 11 didn't need much improvement for me, so it's difficult you're not want to go out and spend another 5-6 million on a player that's not going to walk into the first team, and it's difficult in the game to find players like that. But the guys that came, Aaron Moy was a steal. He was, I know towards the end of the season he got injuries and he struggled a bit, but there was that middle part of the season where we're talking about him being in the mix for Player of the Year. He was that good, and he kept. I don't know if Matt O'Reilly finished as the top most assists in the league, but Moy kept him out the team for a large period of the season, and he was excellent. So to get him in for a free with his experience, I know we're going to touch on it later, but he went away to the World Cup and had a fabulous World Cup as well. Mm-hmm. And Andrew's shown in his 2 years that he was at Celtic with these signings that you don't need to spend stupid amounts of money to find a player. Hatate and Kyogo, we're not spending absolute fortunes on these guys. So I'm never one for saying that we need to spend fortunes. Me and Stephen, I've had battles with you on this podcast many a time about how you don't need to spend.
Oh yeah, boy.
Spend millions and millions upon millions to find a great player. If anything, the last 2 years or three or 4 years have shown that, where we had the window that we bought the likes of Barkas and Ayeti for crazy money, and I don't think they've offered anything to our team. whereas the last 2 years or 3 years we've spent not massive amounts of monies, but found real gems. I think Rio Hitati is going to go on to be unbelievable. He's going to rake in millions for us and go to a top team one day. I honestly think he's a fabulous player. You just need to, that's the scouting and the network that you need to find these gems. And I mean, that's what Celtic have done all their days. As much as we don't like it, that's what we do. We find gems, unearth gems for decent money and turn them into very good players and sell them on for big money. So, yeah, for me, I don't think we need to be going out and spending stupid amounts of money. And I thought it was a very good transfer window. I don't think we needed to strengthen majorly. I just think that we needed to shore up some positions, get a bit more depth, and I think that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, I think that the squad fairly got bloated out. And you said, Ross, in terms of more people coming in different names, that the next biggest outlay we had was £4.35 million for Alexander Bernabé from Lanús in Argentina. So, Willie, you kind of get me on that point. You don't need, I mean, you spend big sometimes, you get a player who's a bit iffy, but I still think he'll come good. But overall, for yourself, we discussed Moy there. We discussed Moy. Well, Willie did. I mean, Jed Thomas was in saying and giving him a stick. I think he had two months of good football, and then he obviously went back to the normal Moy that we all know and love. But was that transfer window good enough for you? Get into the Champions League campaign and also the domestic campaign?
Hindsight, probably not. But at the time, I would say I was fairly happy. I was happy, obviously, like we've said, that Carter Vickers and Jota came in. I was really happy that we got Aaron Moy. I thought he could have added to the team. I was very vocal about that for the start, and I think he did that. For the middle part of the season, he definitely done that. I think he never had that pre-season. He had a lot of injuries. It took him a wee while to get up to speed, but when he did, he chipped in with goals, assists. He was just a really, really good performer. I've said that a lot of times, kept the ball really well. But then obviously it might be to do with age and stuff as well. I'm not sure, but the injuries did catch up with him towards the end of the season. He came back a wee bit too early and had a really, really real stinker against Rangers. But I just seen his name coming up there. Forgot you mentioned him. I thought, for me, you look at that. I wanted us to get another centre half at that time. I felt, and I think he sort of appeased me a wee bit, but I felt at the time that we needed to maybe replace Starfelt going into that Champions League campaign. And I thought Jens, when he did come in, I thought he looked really good. And again, on paper, without hindsight, you looked at it and went, well, we've re-signed Vickers, we've re-signed Jota, we've signed a defender, which we all wanted at the time. We've signed another left back. We didn't know at the time how he was going to turn out, but it was a good outlay, like you said. So that was, and then we signed Aaron Moy. So that for me, when you look at it again without hindsight, I was fairly happy, and I felt we did, and yet okay, it wasn't millions upon millions, but they bulked out the squad, and as Willie said, that sort of starting 11 didn't need like a great deal. You wanted to bulk the squad a bit more, but I mean, it was their first, as I've said, it was their first foray into the Champions League. They did come up short, but the question was, do I think we done enough? Without hindsight, I felt like at the time that we did.
Yeah, I mean, we got our two biggest targets in Vickers and Jota. So, I mean, anything else after that, we all knew was going to be not scraping the barrel in a sense, but it wouldn't be them high transfer fees that they commanded, like £6 million. So, Alexander Bernabé to come in at 4.3. And then you look at January, Alistair Johnson, as well, Haksabanovic, Maeda, Abelgard, remember him, the disappearing act, and likes of Aaron Moy and stuff. But they kind of go back to incomings, Willie. we all knew the Postecoglou came in with nobody in his backroom staff, and he was eventually adding like people like the data analysis guy and different scouts from the City Group, Mark Lowell, kind of case in point. Then he brings in Harry Kewell, who had a tough time down in England and had a really hard gig at management down there. Maybe the club he was at and finances played a part into that and the ambition of the owners and stuff. But we got him on our coaching staff. And I think for me, looking back at that appointment, I think it was a masterstroke. What he added to the wingers, Maeda again came out publicly during the week. I think he's away on international duty with Japan at the minute. He did an interview describing Kewell changing his like career in a sense where different positions to get into, different ways of playing. And for me, I think Harry Kewell, and hopefully he stays on. I believe he might stay on, depending obviously on what Postecoglou wants to do at Spurs. But what's your thoughts on Harry Kewell coming in and also the impact he made on players around him and the team?
Yeah, huge, mate. Like you said, the wingers especially. Like Jota was unbelievable the first season, but this season he's just taken another step up, and I'm sure that Kewell's been a massive part in that. You said Maeda as well. Kewell was a fabulous player, and he's in his day as well. So I think he was a massive addition. When he did, I was very impressed when he did his kind of first interview with I don't know if it was a Celtic View podcast or whatever it was, but talking about Ange and all the rest of it. Very, very impressed, and you can tell he's definitely made an impact. Ange says himself that he's like he loves his wingers. That's his favourite. He loves his wingers, and I think it was a shrewd move getting Kewell in, and we've definitely paid dividends because going forward, I think that's our main threat. Is coming for the wings, and I think I watched the BBC Scotland like season review thing this week, just in preparation, just to jog the memory a bit. And we're talking about the wingers. Say the first half of the season, Abada had an absolute stormer. By the way, everybody kind of forgets about him because he got that injury and kind of wasn't as didn't have as big an impact at the tail end of the season. But the first half of the season as well, we were talking about wingers. He was absolutely colossal for us, and I can't wait to see what the future brings for him if and when Rodgers comes in. Like I said, with the whole, I said on Monday about how the style's different to Ange, whereas I think on a one-to-one basis with players, that's where where Rodgers really shines, and I think he can mould the likes of Abada and Jota and turn them into absolute monsters on the pitch. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, Kewell, he's definitely made an impact. It would be nice to see him stay on. I can't see it, to be honest with you. His Australian ties with Aussie ties with Ange and stuff. If Ange wants him, I think he would probably go and back down south again. But yeah, what an impact he's made. You can see it in the team.
I mean, you referenced the wingers. I think Maeda, Abada, Jota have both got into double figures for goals, and I think two of them got into double figures for assists. So again, that doesn't come by accident, Ross. And a player like Harry Kewell, with that experience, like Willie said, playing in Champions League, playing in great teams like Leeds, Liverpool, coming into a squad like that, and you only need to give a bit of advice to these guys, not just to kind of ease them along, and they're professionals, their attitude, they're athletes, and as Brendan Rodgers would say, you're a 24/7 athlete. And I have to say one thing, by the way, just to kind of reference it. I love the fact that in the group chat today, I pissed you off, and you were like, "It was so draining. It was so draining."
You're training and fucking.
He kept saying he's not coming and fucking sending links for Twitter, and I can't work Twitter, and it was like, "That's him. He's in," and I was just like, "Fuck this, it's too hot, man."
He's never posted one thing about Rodgers coming in or positive. It's just everything he's seen about him not coming. He's posted. It is fucking draining. You need a punch.
Well. It's 50-50. But what do you think about Harry Kewell, Ross, and again the same the impact around that time and his experience as well?
I think he's been really good. Like you've said there, he obviously played at the highest level as a winger. And I watched his interview with Graham Hunter a while back. Can't mind exactly what was in it, but I can wee snippets. He sort of alluded to that, like, he likes his wingers to try and take guys on and get commit the defender. He hates seeing them coming inside and maybe passing it and stuff like that. So I think he's been drumming that into these guys. And obviously the way that Ange plays as well, it sort of works in tandem with that sort of outlook of how you want your winger to play. But I think he's done. I mean, obviously we're only looking for the outside looking in sort of thing, but it looks like he's had a big impact on the players. I think they've probably, who was it you said, Abada, Jota, certainly Maeda. Certainly Abada and Jota have added probably slightly more goals this season than they did last season. But then that you have to sort of say that's probably coupled with the fact that they're getting more used to playing Angie's style. And they just had a better sort of, in terms of performance level, they probably had a better season. But in terms of Harry Kewell staying on, I'd be very surprised, like yourself. I think there has been rumours, I think, that he might be joining Ange at Tottenham. I would be surprised at this point if they all didn't go and join him. And we just had a clean slate for hopefully when Brendan Rodgers comes in. And we're saying that, is that boy used to work under Rodgers? Does he know
he's away? He's away.
Apparently so. I've not seen it confirmed. Stephen telling me it's definitely happening, but he's a
very weird one, eh? Very weird one considering Rodgers is.
I think that's the only thing that could be holding it up, to be honest with you. Although saying that, yeah, he's going to sign, so he doesn't need to do pressers and get the fans in. Just fucking announce it and do the press.
Stay on track. We'll stay on track.
Just get the scarf above your head and spin it like no Celtic fan in the world has ever done. That'll be fine.
I think, to be fair, at this rate, Brendan Rodgers is probably going to join Ange at Spurs. I don't know. Everything's just dragging on and taking forever. But I mean, it's mental. But the Harry Kewell thing for me, I think, is, as you said, I think he's probably gone. Let's be fair. I think he'll probably announce it pretty soon that he's probably left us. And to be fair to him, Postecoglou brought him in. Maybe Postecoglou wants him at Spurs. We know with the staff he inherited from the Neil Lennon era and the Brendan Rodgers era, there was a block in their contracts. He brought in Kewell, so maybe that'd be an easier path for him to leave. Obviously, not having the same kind of contractual obligations. It's a big word for me, isn't it? I'm actually I surprise myself sometimes. But I mean, let's look at European football, right? We'll go off the competitions one by one. So we'll do European football, then we'll do domestic cups, and we'll finish with the season. We looked at the European football, Ross, and we did the whole reaction thing, and we did the live thing, but it was brilliant. I love doing that. And we got Real Madrid, we got RB Leipzig, we got Shakhtar Donetsk. Like, let's be honest here, right? Because I looked back on the video a few times during the week to make sure it wasn't pie in the sky talking shite again like I usually do. But most of us, I would say, were quite confident in that group. And what do you think was the main issue for us? I know we were inexperienced, right? I know that's going to be kind of brought up into the fore, which is grand. A lot of players came from Japan. A lot of people like Cal McGregor, maybe he's only one in the squad. Maybe Joe Hart had played at that level. So you look at it into it, I think we were pretty confident. But what happened? Was it Postecoglou's tactics? Was he too naive? Well, what do you think actually was the main issue? We didn't get more points.
I don't think you can say he was naive. I think he stuck to his beliefs and he took the game to the teams. And for the most part, we competed in all of the games. I think when the draw was made, RB Leipzig they didn't have the greatest start to the season. You looked at the Shakhtar games and you felt you could get something out of that. And also the way we were playing, you felt like at home against Real Madrid, it's a big ask. But you did feel like we could maybe give them a fright. And I think we did do that for half an hour, but it just didn't. Or even, was it half an hour? It might even be 60 minutes if I mind right. But whatever it was, Real Madrid's class did eventually shine through. But Celtic done really well. But I think the opening games, Celtic, as I said, they done really well against Real Madrid. If McGregor's one goes in and doesn't hit the post, it might be a different game. It also might be that Real Madrid go out and beat us 6-1 because we've angered them. You just don't know. But that same night or the night after, whatever it was, Shakhtar went to Germany and won. I think it was, I don't know if it was Germany or in wherever they were playing. I think they were playing in Poland. But the opening game, they beat RB Leipzig, and you thought, that's not a great result for us. But you also felt, off the back of that, we could beat RB Leipzig. But in between them losing to Shakhtar heavily, I think it was 4-1 or 4-2, mightn't have been 5. In between that, they changed managers, and they got in, I think it was Marco Rose, or Rosa, however you say it. And right away, straight away, he changed things up. And when we eventually came round to playing them, again, we competed well in the game. But you could see that actually they were quite a classy team. They finished top 4 in the German league. So I think we probably didn't give them the respect that they actually deserved. And we ended up obviously losing twice to them. And it's just one of the things. They were just a better team. Like Celtic played really well, but they just had that better cutting edge, and it was just that sort of next level up a player that Celtic can't quite get. That's how sometimes, like, I'm not sure if Angel Go come in for like a Kewell or even a Hatate. I think they're really, really good players, but are they that next level? I don't know yet. They might stay on at Celtic and prove that they are, or they might leave Celtic and prove that they are. But right now, I don't know if they are. And then you look at the 2 Shakhtar games. How we never took maximum points for both of the games is beyond me. So you have to say, in that sense, it was not being clinical. It wasn't being ruthless enough, like we have been in the Premier League. But obviously, you get more chances in the Premier League. So as much as you think we're being ruthless, we maybe aren't that ruthless when you think you don't get anywhere near the amount of chances. But some of the chances we did get were gilt-edged. Even the one, Giacomakis, that one over there towards the end, he puts it by the post. You'd stick your house on him scoring that. Absolutely stick your house on him scoring that. But this is the learning curve, if you like. This is why we hope that we'll maybe add to the squad and buy players or maybe that next level. But again, it's very difficult for Celtic to do that just because of the league they play in. But I don't think Ange was tactically naive. I know people will make the case, well, it could be a bit more solid, a bit more hard to beat. But I think probably if we go a bit more defensive, these teams have got that much quality anyway. They'll probably pick you off at some point. I'd be very surprised if Celtic had sat back that they'd have kept any of the teams out, even Shakhtar. I enjoyed watching us in all the games, and I would rather see us having a go and actually looking like we're trying to play a bit of football and enjoying that, as watching us try to keep it tight, sitting back, and probably not getting any out of the game anyway. And I know in the past, like say the Barcelona game, we beat them at Parkhead, and we have picked up results playing that way. But for the most part, if you play like that, you're still going to get beat anyway against these teams. So I enjoyed watching us, and it's probably the most I've enjoyed us, certainly in terms of style. It's the most I've enjoyed watching us in the Champions League. Obviously, we've picked up better results down the years, but I really did enjoy watching us in that campaign for the most part.
I think that, to be fair to you, Ross, I agree with probably 80% of what you're saying, right? But you mentioned the Shakhtar games, and you're talking about tactically naive. I think for me, Postecoglou was, because the one danger man they had at time and time again that was killing us was Mudryk. We did not combat him whatsoever. The team were still playing that high line. We're still above the halfway line, and Juranovic couldn't keep up with him. He was cutting in, he was having fun, he was scoring. And I just think maybe we sit back, we hit them in the counter like they were doing to us. I mean, Shakhtar they're a good unit, let's be honest here, but they were playing basically defensive against us, and they were taking their opportunities going forward on the counter, really. And you look at them games.
Sorry, Steve, but I don't think we're a counter-attacking team. We're not set up like that.
Oh, no, I can't understand, but surely in game, if you notice there's one danger man, you can change something to combat that danger man. I mean, Mudryk went to Chelsea. Mudryk went to Chelsea, and to be fair, I don't know system-wise, but he's been absolutely abysmal. So much so that there's meme page made it about him on Twitter and people taking the piss out of him. He looked at absolutely. I mean, you said it yourself. He looked world class, and I did agree with you. He really did. He destroyed Ranovich. But you look at them games, Willie, and Stephen Ryan in the comments. It's far up, buddy. But I do remember the most of it. He was referencing the fact that we were making chances and we weren't taking them. I think we had 84 shots in total. We scored 4 goals in the Champions League, and you look at that and you're like, what actually happened? You know, like, why can we not challenge? And there's always that narrative with the RB Leipzig games that Rangers beat them the season before and they were having fun with that. And we got beat twice by them home and away, 3-1 in Germany and 2-0 at Celtic Park, which isn't great, let's be honest. But again, I have to counter that fact as well. The signed Timo Werner, they had Nkunku up front, who is a superstar. He's going to Chelsea. And this summer, they'll probably ruin his career like they do everybody else. But what's your overall feeling from that campaign? And even if we take this season coming as well, regardless who the manager may be, right? Would you allow the same results to happen again? Would it be a learning curve under a new manager? Or do you think it's like, right, we've had it under Postecoglou last year, fair enough, but we should be kicking on and looking for 5, 6, 7, 8 points in a group to drop into third instead of 2?
Well, I think we should always be looking at that. I don't think you should be looking, but I don't think the new manager, can be judged on what happened last season, because he's never had a hand in it. But I totally agree with Ross on the fact that I loved watching us play and have a go at teams. And like everybody, a lot of people have been saying in the comments, we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And by the way, we've been spoilt rotten because there's been teams who've blown away in the league this year, but there's also been countless times where it's been the exact same, where it's massive amounts of possession and loads of chances, but we never actually put the ball in the back of the net. Or we struggle to, off the top of my head, there's a few last-minute winners. Calmac at Aberdeen and St Johnstone and
Hearts.
Calmac at Aberdeen, and absolute domination and hundreds and hundreds of chances, but we just weren't putting it away. So, I mean, it wasn't just a Champions League thing. There was countless times in the league we did it as well, and that's all it was in the Champions League for me. It was as exciting as a campaign as I've ever watched. Strachan was magic for us, but he did play a certain style, and it wasn't as easy on the eye. But I know results mean everything. I know results mean everything in the game. So, it doesn't matter how well we played at the end of the day. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net, and we just failed to do that, unfortunately.
Boom.
I'm glad he stuck with his.
We have
but it's no. It's how many managers we had in 20 years.
It's different players, different
styles,
teams,
different players, different teams. It's not like we've had the
doesn't
same
stand
20
up
years.
at all.
It's no.
I think it does.
Why? Explain.
Well, right. Let's get into it. Right. We'll start it right now. Right. No problem.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We live on the back, for me anyway, of legacies. Right. Won the European Cup. Absolutely phenomenal. The Seville run, unbelievable. We all have great memories from that. Like, stop there, and let's move forward from there. Right. We haven't won a knockout tie since 2004, and that for me is embarrassing. That is shambolic that we have not done that. We got to the last 16, which was great under Strachan twice. We've done it under Lenny. Right, that's fair enough. There's a couple of good instances in that. But every other time, we're either popped out by a Maribor, we're popped out by a Copenhagen, we're popped out by a St. Petersburg in the last 32, who had basically no right to beat us in that competition. We were a far better team, in my opinion, than Zenit St. Petersburg. And then we looked at the Shakhtar Donetsk games, one each, with draws against them. We dominated the games. It's every time Celtic win the European football, we're learning. We're learning for next season. But then we make an excuse for next season because we play different teams. Does not make sense, in my opinion.
It's making an excuse.
Right, Stephen Wright has said, we're learning for the past 20 years. That's all we ever say. When's it going to come to the point where we're demanding results? We need to be.
We said it last year because it was a new team.
But no, because if we do it this year, what will you say? If we finish the Champions League group with 2 points,
I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't accept it as much. But I understood last year. But you're making the point that we say it every year. I certainly don't say it every year.
I don't say
said
you.
it.
I'm not saying.
No.
I'm not saying.
Under
You
Lennon
two
and
said
that,
it, yeah.
well, I don't think that the fan base. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I don't think they do that. I think there's a lot of unrest when Celtic don't perform in the Champions League or Europa League. But you look at it under Lennon, we got out a group in the Europa League. We had 2 games to spare. Nobody said we were learning then. But that team had a bit of experience under their belt, and they got that job done. This team, certainly not me. I don't say it every year. But the argument there, that comment was that we've been learning for the last 20 years. They're different teams, and it's not true, because you've alluded to the fact there that we've had 3 last 16 finishes. We got out a Europa League group, and okay, we haven't won a knockout tie, and it is pretty bad, but you can dress it up and say, oh, we haven't won it for X amount of years, but it's not like we've played in the knockout stage of European competition every single year on year. So it's not like we've done it, say it was 15 years, I can't mind the exact number. It's not like we've done it 15 years out of 15 years. This Celtic team went into the Champions League, they performed to a really good level, a hell of a lot better than Rangers, and I know that's not a great barometer because they're the worst team in the Champions League, but...
Well, we didn't do much better, let's be fair.
No, that's what I'm saying. But we performed a hell of a lot better in the games. But this was a new team. It was a new manager who had never managed in that tournament. Now, if everything is believed to be true, Brendan Rodgers will be coming in for a second stint, and he comes in and takes over this team who have got that experience of being in the Champions League under their belt. Brendan Rodgers has got experience, and I know, albeit his European record isn't great, but he's had some really tough. He's had some really tough matches, certainly in his time at Celtic, obviously against PSG, Barcelona, and the like.
Yep.
But going into the next, I don't know who we're going to get yet, but going into the next Champions League campaign, I fully expect Celtic to perform. Well, I don't know if they'll perform as good because we don't as yet know exactly how Rodgers is going to play. He probably will play a 4-2-3-1 like he used to. But for me, that's no that much different. People say it's a 4-2-3-1. You could say to an extent Ange played that system. I know we've got 3 on paper, it's 3 up front, but it's 2 wingers and 1 striker. When Brendan Rodgers was the manager, it was Dembele or whoever up front, and then you had Sinclair, who isn't an out and out striker, so it wasn't 2 strikers, and you probably had Forrest on the other side. So it was essentially a similar system for the most part. So Rodgers will probably play very, very similar to how Ange played. Obviously, he'll be more about retaining the ball a bit more than the way Ange played. But I fully expect a guy with the experience of Rodgers and this team, who for me are really, really good, add a bit to that. We don't know what it'll be yet, but I fully expect us to do better. And even third, I think, even this season, second in a group stage would be a stretch for Celtic. If they'd done it, it would be incredible. But to get third and then get a wee run in Europa League, I think would satisfy me. I don't know. I think sometimes, yeah, certainly you, Stephen. I feel like you're a wee bit harsh sometimes when it comes to Europe. But you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, but that's just how I see things. And listen, see if we go into next season and we add to the team and we perform really well, but again, we're sitting here at this time next year and saying, oh, if we took our chances, I will not say then, oh, we're still learning, because we've had that year under our belt. I'm no daft enough to say that, but right now, I feel like you can give what is basically a full new team. I think, certainly me, I'm quite comfortable giving them that leeway, saying, well, it was their first year, because for 95% of them, at least, I would say, none of them had even played in that tournament. So for to play the way they did and take the ball and be confident to get the ball and play, I think it has to be commended. But they need to improve at the top end of the pitch and as well at the back, that wee bit, just to get to that next level, maybe third.
Yeah, no, we definitely found the groove
So
in
I
this
started
European
singing
Cup.
there.
Oh, we're getting into it now. We're getting into it now. Stephen Rye says, Willie, I think this is bang on for me. We've been changing managers every 2 years since 2014. We constantly sell and buy players. We'll have a new team every 18 to 24 months. It's all excuses, and it comes from a board happy only to win in Scotland.
That's
bang on.
That's
Bang
never
on.
changed, though. It's been the same since before 2014. It was still the same. But back then, it was a different game. There was more money in our game. If we could never attract the likes of a player that was the stature of Chris Sutton back then, a Premier League winner who was a top goal scorer and had a bit of a tough time at Chelsea. But we could never attract somebody of that billing, not for that money anyway. The money's gone in Scottish football, so we can't attract that type of player. The teams we're going up against, Leipzig aren't even the top team in Germany, and they're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions. Their front four, Leipzig's front four impressed me more than Real Madrid's front four when we played them. Their front four was scary. And that's not even the top seeds in the group. So you've got to remember the level you're competing with. It's easy to say the board aren't spending money. The board are spending money. They're spending millions and millions. Do you want us to go under like the Sevco?
No.
But we've spent money, with plenty of money. Just to play devil's advocate, right? And I'm not the board's biggest fan either, but I'm not also the biggest critic. But we're going out and spending. I go back to like a Yeti, 5 million. I know that's nothing in football these days, but it's a fair chunk of money for our league. What's that done? Absolutely hee-haw. So we can't be going out and spending the same amount of money that these get. Chelsea just went and spent fucking 20 million on a fucking 15-year-old, on a 15-year-old, 16-year-old. How can we compete with that in Europe? We can't. And this, the board, we want to, domestic dominance is our number one. That's it. And I understand. I want to be successful in Europe as well. Of course I do. If you look back at the videos, that draw was made. I was so confident. I thought we've got a chance here. And I definitely underestimated Leipzig, especially. Shakhtar we should have put away. Leipzig, I really underestimated them. They're a top side, and they destroyed us. And and they had Angie's number with the tactics. To be fair, they absolutely destroyed us in the counter. Going back to your point on Mudryk, if that's Alistair Johnson he's up against, he's not getting the pleasure he got that night against JJ.
Oh, no.
I'm telling you that for nothing. But it's a different world we're living in now. We're not. The club is financially nowhere near, and in regards to the whole footballing picture, nowhere near where we were 20 years ago. And that stat, I fucking hate that stat. We've not won a knockout. How many knockout ties have we played since then?
It's true though.
How many knockout ties have we played since then?
Well, Milan twice, wasn't it? Was it? And then you got St. Petersburg. You've got Barcelona. I think we played Barcelona, didn't we, in a knockout tie as well?
So the biggest disappointment was Copenhagen, I think.
Imagine getting beat up Barcelona.
That was after we got out the Lazio group.
Fucking hell. That's terrible.
The way I look at this, right? No.
And it's the same. No. And the same stat. There was the same stat the other year, last year, about Livy, where it was like we've no beat Livy in fucking 8 years or 10 years or something like that. Livy were in the fucking lower divisions for 8 of the years. So these stats get thrown about, and it makes it sound horrendous, and it's bad. And I totally agree. We should be doing far better. But when nobody's here is saying that we're still on a learning curve or whatever. Players come and go. The club, as I said earlier, that's where we are right now. As much as we hate it, and legacy and history and all the rest of it, we're a massive, massive club in world football. We are one of the biggest, no doubt. But when it comes to the competition and elite level football, and I'm talking elite Man City's, PSG's, we're nowhere near that, and we can't compete with that because we've not got the money to compete with that. These guys buy players for tens of millions. They have them for 2 years and then they let them go for free. We can't do that. We need to bring players in for 3-4 million, try and sell them on for 15, and continue that cycle. Nottingham Forest are one of the biggest clubs history-wise. They're not going to qualify for the Champions League and then just demand that they should be successful in the Champions League because of the history. Doesn't work like that. It's a totally different game now, and money trumps all. And you've seen it I don't know, nobody's any golf fans out there. It's just happened recently. Money trumps everything. Saudi's just taken over. That's it. Bang. Money trumps all. And unfortunately, because of the league we're in and our situation, there's no way we can compete with these guys. On the one-off chance in the one games, we can. And we should be doing better. And this year, I think with a bit, call me a glasses half full type of guy, but this season in the Champions League, I think a wee bit more luck and a bit more clinical finishing, we could have gave that second place a right good chance. And unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I love Ange. I love his tactics. I love that he went for it. Is he tactically naive sometimes? And could he have? Maybe so. I think Joe Hart said himself that there's times where it's 5 minutes to go and we're 2-1 up, and he's telling Joe Hart, "Fucking come on, I want another goal." And sometimes it's like, calm it down. So I do understand that for that point of view, but I enjoyed this Champions League and the way we went at the teams more than I have under Strachan and all the rest of it. And Strachan taking on an absolute roller coaster, and I loved it. But I'm with Ross, and I know results are everything, but at least we're not sitting with 10 like that. I think I watched that Liverpool Sevco game this year, and they got battered, and they sat. I think they got battered like 7-0, and they didn't even. Didn't even try and arm it. It was just like, let's just sit in and try and make it 7-0, and it ended 7-0 anyway. At least we had a go at players, and we gained a lot of respect for people. And I know respect means fuck all. You want results, but I just think that I don't want to say the expectations are too high, but if you take a step back and think with your head rather than your heart and look at the state of football, world football at the moment, we are a medium-sized fish in a massive pond. We can't compete with these guys that are spending hundreds and hundreds of millions every year.
I know. I mean, whose blood's pumping? We're all pumping now, aren't we? The circulation's going. We're ready. We're fighting. Love it. Let's go, Ross. What are you going to say? Jump in. Come on.
I was just going to say, you're talking about we haven't won a knockout tie for so long. See if
Motherwell doesn't count.
This is just tongue in cheek. This is a bit tongue in cheek, right? But see if VAR had been in place when we played Juventus in the last 16 of Champions League, we'd have put them out because we had about 5 or 6 penalties in that game.
Yeah, no, that's touche, my friend. That's actually a really good point. But in terms of it, right? Just quick fire to the both of you. I mean, 48 minutes basically spent talking about Europe. Incredible. Ross, what level are we as a club in Europe? Where do we belong? Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, or not in Europe altogether?
We are, the size of our club, we are a Champions League club. We should be in it every year. If, in terms of the now, we're automatically we've got automatic qualification if we win the league. That should be the case all the time. If you win your league, you should automatically go into that tournament. It doesn't work like that. But financially,
Champions League.
Aye. Oh, it should be, aye. So I would say we are a Champions League club in terms of our fan base, our standing as a club worldwide. We're a Champions League club. Financially, I would have to say we're probably a Europa League club at best. But if you get that opportunity to play in the Champions League, then you want to do your very, very best in it. Most of the time we'll come up short, as we have for all of the campaigns but 3. So we probably will come up short, but then you look at it and go, right, we need to get to the stage where we're at least having a run in the Europa League if we drop into that. Or even if we don't quite make the Champions League when we're trying to qualify, if that comes around again and we go into the Europa League, you just want to have a run in that and give a good account of yourselves, similar to what we done when we qualified out of the group with 2 games to go. So, to answer your question, we're a Champions League club. That's the level worldwide standing. But financially, we have to be real and realise that we're probably the level below these elite teams.
Yeah, I don't think it's like anything to be. Well, I was going to say shame, but Willie, I mean, you look at our club, like Ross said, fan base ways, stature ways, history ways, everything about our club screams Champions League, 100%. And I think we have to come to the terms. I mean, Stephen Wright, again, he's come in with a great comment. We should be in the round Benfica Porto Ajax. However, they have a far superior player trading model. But to be fair to you, Stephen, I think we're coming onto that slowly but gradually with our player trading model at the minute. I hope we continue that way. But I would say I agree with Ross for once tonight. We're probably Europa League level for finance, but like stature of Celtic Football Club, Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And I think we shouldn't be like I think we should be aiming for knockout stages in the Champions League. I don't think it's a million miles. I was going to say, Stevens said it there about the trading model, but I was going to use Ajax as an example. They got all the way to the semi-finals a couple of seasons ago, and that like it was youth players, and it wasn't like massive worldwide names they had. So it's definitely plausible. It just needs belief. So I think that's where we should definitely be aiming for that every season. I don't think that we should be taking any less than that. But in saying that, I think try to get second place in a Champions League, and if not, dropping into third in Europa is probably where we are at the moment. It's all going to depend on, like I say, we're not going to go out and buy the best players in the world. So it's going to be finding these gems and having a good season. And listen, you need a bit of luck along the way as well. And we had zero of that this season, unfortunately, in Europe. So I can't wait for this season. Can't wait for the Champions League to come around. I can't wait for us to do the whole Champions League live draw again. That was one of my fondest memories of last season. And I'll be buzzing for it coming around again. And hopefully we can take a few scalps this year. I've always got confidence in the team. This team's been gelling for the past 2 years, and it's a fantastic side we've got. If the rumours are true, and Brendan's coming in, and Stephen Ray's talking about that model, it seems like that's one of the facts that Rodgers is wanting, and a bit of a war chest to go into Europe. But if we get that, a few more additions, I don't see why we can't. We get a bit of luck with the draw in the group stage, because there's some horrendous ties out there. Then listen, I can see us definitely qualifying, but yeah, it's if you're like I said earlier, if you're thinking with your head, not your heart, you're aiming for second place in the group stage and hopefully sneaking through, or if not, getting the third place. Third place is that's the be all and end all. We need to get third place and at least have Europe after Christmas. Anything above that is great, but yeah. But I don't think we should be short selling ourselves. I think we should still be aiming for that, because, like you say, the size of the club, we're in as good a place as now as we have been for a while. We have been spending money, and hopefully we get a few really good additions in this summer and hit the ground running, and hopefully get through the knockout stage this time.
100%. Hopefully get a decent manager with some caliber about him, like, do you know what I mean? So we'll see where that takes us. Obviously, the managerial merry-go-round. And I know people are obviously saying about different we're talking about the end of the season review. We're just going back through the season, talking about Celtic. So we're not ignoring the situation, but I think it's been covered by every other podcast and Celtic outlet out there. And we're going to talk about it again next week anyway, obviously. But Ross, we'll move on to some of the domestic stuff. Obviously, before the World Cup, but fucking mid-season World Cup, mental. But we started off well. We were beating teams quite comfortably. We beat Dundee United 9-0. Remember, Kewell's strike outside the box was absolutely incredible. Then obviously we all look towards the first Glasgow Derby game. That's the date everyone looks at, and we're all going, wow, we can do this if we lay down a marker. And to be fair, Ross, I think we did lay down a marker. We beat them 4-0. I think from Brockhorst was still in charge at that point. Michael Beale and his mole hadn't arrived yet at Ibrox. But what was your feelings in that game? And do you think for a psychological edge that was fatal to put that marker down and move forward from that?
I will, for the most part, the first Glasgow derby it's similar to getting the first trophy over the line. It gives you that psychological boost. Rangers in Angie's first season beat us 1-0. It didn't quite work out that way for them because we obviously went on to win the league. But in that game, I think I actually said it on maybe even last Friday when I was on talking about that game. Like at the start of the season, you had all the pundits predicting Rangers were going to win the league. Played that game, first 2 minutes, because we were all talking about how Kewell hadn't really played a lot of football against Rangers. We wanted to go in with our strongest team. And he went off after 2 minutes. Excuse me. I don't think Lundstrom had deliberately went out to hurt him, but I think he'd done something. He'd done something to his arm, I think. But he had to go off, and you're thinking, well, certainly now, and this is, you have to say, big up to Giakoumakis, but certainly now, I wouldn't be as confident in that game bringing on O as much as I like him. But Giakoumakis had done it a good few times. Okay, didn't he score the goals? But he was a nuisance himself, and he'd done the exact same when he came on in that game. He made an absolute nuisance himself. He occupied whoever the defenders were. I dare say it was Connor Goldson. Can't mind who the other one was. But he was there, and then it let the other guys do their thing, and you seen it. Obviously, Jota scored. Turnbull got a late goal in that game. But for that moment on, I said that last week, for that moment on, it was when I really felt definitely we were going to win the league. I felt we were going to win the league anyway. I just felt we had a better team. But at that point, it was like, we really could do something special here because we are that far ahead. And okay, Rangers did. The games weren't as wide a scoreline. But Celtic just got it done throughout the season against them when it mattered. And that game for me was the moment where I thought we could do something special this year and have a clean sweep. And obviously that transpired. But we were outstanding on the day. And okay, Rangers didn't perform really. There was a few mistakes. Well, I mean, that's the only reason Celtic beat Rangers is because of the mistakes that Rangers make. But there was one or two mistakes. But Celtic punished their mistakes because they're a good side. And as I say, for that moment on, I felt we could do something special, and that transpired.
Yeah, I think it was reminiscent, wasn't it, of the 3-0 game under the lights, the February the season before. The atmosphere was incredible. I mean, in the game itself, Abada got a double. I think he put Barisic on his arse again, which he does really well, Willie. Jota scored that famous chip goal and made McGregor look about 90 years old. And then, as Ross said, Turnbull weighed in with a kind of 70th minute a goal there as well. But in terms of that game, we were speaking about it before. I think I went for a wee pish or a wee sneaky pish.
I heard
we were saying the psychological edge. I know we all talk about the first game. We all look forward to it. I mean, Lenny said it before. Rogers has said it before. Winning that game kind of gives you that kind of impetus to keep going in the season. And 4-0, and Studs Lonergan said it there. It could have been far more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're bang on. This season, every single game we went into against them, it felt to me like when Rogers was first time round where we were just absolutely destroying them every week. I just had the confidence. I don't know, because of the football we were playing, and they're not necessarily a bad side, but and that game especially, I think that you're right, psychologically, it puts you ahead, and that's every single game we went into this year. I didn't have that. I had the butterflies and all the rest of it before the game as normal, but it wasn't as nervous ones. I was checking there. I was on the phone to my uncle's sister's granny's goldfish's brother, who's a cleaner at the Ladbrokes outside Celtic Park, and he said that he walked through with his tie on the other week there. So I'll put it on Twitter so that everybody can go after that. The psychological thing in it, and that's exactly it. Like I said, every game after that, and every game, not just in the games again, in the derby games, but the games all season in the leagues, the league games domestically, we were absolutely, especially the early part of the season, we were destroying teams like I've never seen before. 80-90% possession every single game. It's absolute madness. Creating chance after chance after chance, scoring goals for fun. That just breeds confidence. And I said it in the podcast countless times throughout the season. I felt like we could go into games where a 2-0 handicap. We could go into games starting 2-0 down, and I still would feel confident we're going to win the game. That's how the team had me, and Ange had me feeling. So in that game, especially that sparked off, Ross was bang on. I think at that point, that was a bit of a turning point at the start of the season to go, right, we've laid down a marker here now. This is massive confidence. Let's push on now, and let's do our thing. And obviously we did. But I mean, yeah, Jota's goal, I think, won the Celtic goal of the season, and rightly so. O'Reilly's pass is unbelievable, and the first touch is you feel like he's away. You feel like he's away with the first touch, and then he slots out of the keeper. It's magic. Unfortunately, I wasn't with the boys. I was in Lanzarote with the missus, but we were in bar 67 and taking it in. And when Turnbull came on, I had to stick a tenner on him to score next, which he did. So that paid for a few pints at the bar as well, which was tidy. So fantastic start to the season. It's a great start to the derbies, and yeah, that kind of set the tone. We went on from there, and we were just battering teams after that for a while.
Yeah, it was an incredible run of form we were on. I remember doing a podcast with yourself, Ross, and we were talking away, and you were going, Celtic are going to go unbeaten. Domestic season, unbeaten. Podcast after that, match after that.
That's right, so it was.
Yep.
The literal match straight after that podcast, we get not humiliated, but humbled 2-0 by St Mirren. And see, to be fair, like obviously within that gap between Rangers, where we're winning games and stuff, but we're kind of dropping in form a bit. But I've picked out games that obviously mean stuff. And the St Mirren game, to be fair to Stephen Robinson, to be fair to him a wee bit, he's been okay against us. He's played well. His team plays well. He's tactically astute, and Curtis Main, different players like that, Mark O'Hara, Bacchus, and they're all good, technical, gifted players, and Curtis Main's that big bustler. But you were so confident Ross would go unbeaten. Now, we didn't, which is fair enough. We ended up losing a few games towards the end of the season, right? So I think it was like 3 games in total. With hindsight, we look back to the previous season, the Livingston game, as being that we kind of tripped up, and Ange was saying we can't afford to drop any more points in this first season. We didn't. Was this the type of game that season there where we dropped the points against St Mirren, and it's just like you learn from that, you move forward, you take it, and people say to kick up the arse, but effectively from then we were clean, we were beating everyone in sight. And maybe I always think about complacency, right? And they're professional athletes, let's be honest here. I'm not saying they're turning up expecting to beat things, but sometimes it could creep into your mindset being like, we'll play our game, we'll win. That's fair enough. It's human being. But to get beat by St Mirren convincingly, do you think that was like a kick up the arse from at that time?
I don't think your comparison with Livingston, I understand why you done that. I don't think it's really that much like that, because losing that game, they did have to go on that run. But losing that game against St Mirren, there was a lot of variables that were very different in terms of the run they'd been on. So they were top of the league already at that point when they lost to Livingston. They obviously weren't top of the league. They rested, maybe a better word, a lot of players. I think there was 8 changes, maybe 9, if I remember right, 8 or 9. It was a lot of changes, and off the back of it, it was a really poor performance, right? Off the back of it, there was the usual fucking panic. The squad's not as good as what we thought and all that. No.
Probably.
It's a generalisation, but the squad's not as good and all that. And I've said on numerous occasions, certainly more recently, off the back of the games that we'll probably touch on later on, where he after the league was won, and rested a lot of players, if you like, or tried different, just to see where his squad was, or what I thought he was looking to see where his squad was, but then he fucked off. But I think that people off the back of that game, Stephen was blaming me. Off the back of that St Mirren game, come on. That day, he was poor that day, but he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. and he wasn't a regular at that point because he was still.
He was the reason. He was the reason why we lost that game.
Right. Okay. I'll just shut my fucking face. No. So he wasn't the only player that played bad that day, but he was feeling his way into the team at that time. He wasn't. I think we could all see he wasn't fully fit. But what I was going to say there, the point I was going to make was people off the back of that game were thinking, oh, the squad's not as good as we all thought. We were saying it because we were bringing guys on and it didn't really change it. You didn't really see the difference. But I've said it before, at the time when we're bringing guys on, for the most part, we're in the leading games, and you're bringing these guys on to try and stretch the lead against players that are been playing like most of the game. They're coming in and they're fresh legs against tired legs. But you make 8 changes, and the guys that start aren't ordinarily going to start for the start. They're the squad players. That's why you have a squad. You bring these guys on, and the guys who you trust more and is your preferred starting 11, they're the ones that get the job done. And then they bring the guys on to see the game through, or maybe even, the odd occasion, you need these guys to come on and try and get you a goal to win you the game. But for the most part, it's to see the game out or stretch the lead further. So the sort of point I'm trying to make is the squad is still all right, but they guys are not going to be starters. You're not looking for them to come on to start the game and take the game away for teams. It's your starting 11. But when you take about 8 your starting 11 out and put the sort of guys who are more or less the squad players, I know Ange didn't like to call them squad players, but you have to say that's probably what they are. You're going to notice a drop off, especially when they're not playing week in, week out. You're going to notice that drop off, and that's what happened that day. But I still believe that the squad was in an okay place, and I think that, again, use that word, I think that transpired. But that game wasn't good on the day. But like you say, it maybe was that, not a kick up the arse, because they were playing really well. And like we've said, there was 8 changes. But it's that sort of wee wake-up call of, like, we need to be at it all the time. We are the better team. We've got the better players. We've got the most money, the best budget to spend on players. But if you come off it that wee bit, you'll pay for it. They paid for it that day. They realised that. Ange probably drummed it into them. Callum McGregor, he would have drummed it into them as well. And they just went on, like you said, they went on a run. I can't remember. You maybe got it in front of you. They went on a big run. And they never...
It was 10K, 10 kilometres.
But they did. They went on a really good run of games, and they just took the league title away for Rangers before Bale could start the new league when he came in.
Well, the new league indeed. But I get what you mean. Obviously, 8 changes, which is fair enough, Willie. And I seen you shaking your head at me. It was the day before that, the famous grey strip. I always remember that. That's an awful top. But what was your opinion of that game? Obviously, we were beating teams left, right, and centre. Do you think that was just a blip? Obviously, we can look back now and say it was a blip because we won the league at a counter. But at that moment in time, we all right with it. We just like we'll get back onto the horse again and go on a long unbeaten run, as Ross actually said there.
No, I was majorly fucked off. I don't like losing. But I shook my head because you said that they beat us convincingly, and I didn't agree with that.
They did, mate. Are you joking? They beat us. Mate.
Go and look at the stats for the game, and we'll see. You're the stat man. You've got the one that's got Tony and that on the stat game. Go and have a look at the stats of the game.
Right, you go ahead then. No worries.
Okay. And but Ross is right. Yeah, I mean, you need to change the team about. I think Ange learned his lesson. He didn't make that many changes again until towards the tail end of the season, and then that's when we had a bit of slumping form again. So it kind of thingy the fluidity of the team. But it was a bit of a kick up the arse for us because, like you said, straight after that game we went on a tear, and I don't think we lost until post-split, possibly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could have been the kick up the arse that the team needed. And Ange, to be fair, because like I said, he never made... he never made... come on. He never made...
Fucking pumped him.
I know. He never made that many changes again until, like I say, until the league was won. So it was a lesson learned. But it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. See, in about 3 years' time, I'll just remember we won a treble. I won't remember us getting beat up St. Mirren.
Well, you told me to look at the stats here. Do you want me to read them out?
Go on.
No, we don't. So St. Mirren had 4 shots, 2 on target, and scored twice.
Right.
We had 19 shots, 4 on target, we scored 0.
Right. What was his possession stats?
80-20.
Yeah, there you go.
But that doesn't mean anything. We beat Barcelona with like 2% possession. Mate, that does not mean anything.
And we shouldn't have won that.
But we didn't win convincingly that night. You said
convincingly. You said convincingly, you fucking...
Celtic were shite on the day. They had a lot of the ball, but they done absolutely nothing with it. And St. Mirren took their chances. But they didn't play us off the park. Aye.
Nah.
We got beat convincingly. That's not sugarcoated. That's not sugarcoated. Right, it's okay. Palm comes in here. Quality over quantity with possession. Yes, Palm.
100%.
That's it.
Totally
Nailed it.
Totally
but
agree.
Willie wants 80%, and the 2-0 defeat. It's all right. It's all right, Willie. It's all right. But as you said, obviously, well, we've done a big run, right? I think we lost McGregor, the injury, Carter Vickers in the Champions League. Matt O'Reilly was playing 6, and Starfelt and Jens were playing. But one thing I want to pick up on, and Ross, to be fair to you, buddy, you give me this kind of topic, and it was Kyogo and Gigi at the time. None of them were hitting kind of top form. Let's be fair, Ross. So we're going to do a bit of agree to disagree here right now, just to mix it up a wee bit, right? And there was a bit of debate very early on in the season, if you remember, during that time, who should be starting. Should it be Gigi? Should it be Kyogo? Because there were slow burners. Obviously, Kyogo went and fire and he scored over 30 goals. That's fair enough. But we're talking about the early part of the season. So we've seen Giakoumakis go to the MLS now, right? And he's the fastest player in history, Ross, to reach 10 goals, right? Which is an incredible achievement. He's a natural born goal scorer, right? But does it mean, I'm literally quoting your thing you give me, by the way. Does it mean the sale of him was the wrong decision? Should we have kept or tried to keep Gigi? And then with Kyogo in that mix. In terms of agree to disagree, who's a better striker in your opinion, Kyogo or Gigi?
Kyogo.
Right.
Kyogo's the better player. Absolutely. Giakoumakis a better finish. Well, certainly he's a better out and out goal scorer. Is he a better? He's a better finisher. He is a better finisher than Kyogo. He is. But Kyogo, the way we played, was more suited to our style of play. And you can look at it, and you look at Giakoumakis, right? He scored 10 goals, fastest to score the 10 goals, whatever. It's really good. It's impressive. Mm-hmm. But the question is, was it a mistake to sell him?
Yep.
I don't know the full ins and outs of what happened. Nobody really does, apart from the guys that were involved in it. But just because he scored 10 goals in the fastest, it doesn't mean to say it was the wrong decision. He might have been, because obviously he could see that Kyogo was going to be getting played every time, no matter what he done. And for me, I think we all made the case that for certain games you play the fixture, you play Giakoumakis. In some games you play Kyogo for the most part. Giakoumakis was doing everything that he possibly could when he came on. He was doing what he could to get in the team. But at the same time, Kyogo was doing what he could to keep getting picked. So it was a really good combination. We could have rotated them a wee bit more in the league, probably, I would say, just to keep Giakoumakis happy. I would say maybe Ange was at fault there. But in terms of selling him, I don't know how you can say, like, conclusively or decisively that it was the wrong decision to sell him, because if he's angling to get out and he's saying, "Look, I'm not happy," Ange has always said for the start, he was always upfront and honest and said, if somebody wants to leave this club, then I won't stop them. He was all about unity and no unrest in the team. And if Giakoumakis was bringing that, then if the player's not happy, there's no point in keeping an unhappy player. As much as he scores great goals and he scores a lot of goals for us, he wasn't a starter. He wasn't a regular starter. And we were still top of the league. We were still doing okay in Europe. And as much as Kewell wasn't clinical in Europe, neither was Giakoumakis, you have to say, to an extent. When he did come on, obviously he didn't have as many chances as Kewell, but when he did come on, he played against Real Madrid and he done pretty well that night as well, but he didn't get the goals either at that level. So it's a tough one. Listen, you would love to have kept Giakoumakis, but if he wants away, there's no point in keeping him. And I think, or there's no point in trying to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there, because it does cause unrest. And we were motoring along fine. And obviously Ange knew that he could get O in, who, by the way, he's no Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis is better than Giakoumakis. Well, I think he's all round. I think he's, in terms of bringing guys into play and stuff like that, I think he's better than Giakoumakis. But in terms of goal scoring, he's nowhere near that yet. But he's 21. Giakoumakis is 27, so he's got age on his side. I think he's got I think Giakoumakis, would have to say, has probably reached his ceiling. He's at his peak now. What you see is what you're going to get. O has got more scope to improve, and he's got a higher ceiling, you would have to say. But I really like O. I concede again that he doesn't score the goals that Giakoumakis does, but he has chipped in with goals, and he accepts his place in the team because he knows that he's not going to oust Kewell at this minute in time, but he understands that when he does come on, he's not coming on to say, right, you need to pick me in the next game because I've come on and scored a goal. He's come on, done his job for the team, maybe got a goal, maybe didn't get a goal, but he's still done his job for the team. Tries like a bear. I don't think you could say he's come on at any point and he's been, wow, he has been absolutely shite. He is rotten. There's a player in there and he's learning, he's raw, but in terms of that, what the point I'm trying to make is that he's there now and he's happy. He's happy with his place in the squad. Giakoumakis wasn't he? And at the time, Ange didn't know he was going to leave and all that. So he wants to have guys that want to be here. And I know people will make the case that Ange had that sort of mantra and then he's done a runner himself. But he's all like, he didn't want to. Well, he did want to be at Celtic, but he couldn't say no to that offer. He had to go. I don't think he's sort of stepped over the mantra and what he's saying to players like Giakoumakis and like, you need to go if you don't want to be here. Because Ange's done that. He didn't want to be here. He wanted to go to this other team, so he went. But for me, overall, I mean, it's been long-winded, but I think you can't say conclusively it was the wrong decision to sell him, but he didn't want to be there, or it was causing unrest, and Ange got him out the door, and he got somebody in there who understood his place in the team. So I don't really know.
I get what you're saying, because Giakoumakis, for me, like as you said there, he was a master of one-touch finishes. He scored every goal with a touch or maybe two touches because his first touch was awful and shite. He banged in the net. Where I think you look at Kewell, Willie. And no, look, I'm just being honest, right? Giakoumakis was, for the last the first season, he was vital, 100%. But Kewell, for me, he's took that mantelpiece and for over 30 goals, man. That's incredible, absolutely incredible. And obviously the question was agree to disagree, but I kind of moved it into an absolute debate about Kewell or Gigi and O kind of mixed in there. But in hindsight, do you think it was the right choice by Ange to let Gigi go at that time because he had their replacement lined up with O coming in very early in the January?
Well, without knowing the ins and outs, I think it seemed like the relationship had broken down. So, like, I don't think there was a decision to be made. I just think that was it. For me, it's all just conjecture because we don't know what happened. But for me, we made a mistake in letting him go because I said that we did a transfer special on the deadline night, January deadline night.
Was great, wasn't it? Great podcast.
Brilliant. And at the very end, as they all are, at the very end, you asked me. The very end of that night, you asked me if we were stronger or weaker in the window, and I was the only one that said we're weaker, and it's always just because we've lost Gigi. Because I think he was a superstar, like you say, finishing. There's been people in the chat, in the comments, talking about earlier on in Europe, and by the way, I'm not like, for me, Kyogo's streaks ahead of him. Like, Kyogo's unbelievable, and he is their number one striker, and there's no disputing that. But there's times when that's not working, you need something a bit different, and Gigi was totally different to Kyogo. And in Europe, if there is two big burly centre halves that are throwing Kyogo about like an empty tracksuit, it'd be nice.
Been there before, boys. Been there before, boys.
It'd be nice. You getting thrown about. And then
I do the throwing
coming on. And again, there's a couple of times we mentioned tonight about the 3-0 game under the lights in the derby. Gigi, Hatate scored 2 that game, and Gigi for me was man of the match. He absolutely ripped their whole back line to shreds. He was immense. He's shown that he's still got the eye for the goal, obviously, in America. I just, without knowing, just for me and Matt, I just think that maybe he wanted to leave because he didn't feel wanted, and I think Ange probably could have done a bit more to make him feel wanted. He could have played him more, but Ange isn't like that. He's old school, and it's like, toughen up, away you go. And that was that. And it sucks even more now because Ange is away, and the new manager could have came in and Gigi would have had more of a say in the team. So it sucks a bit more. It still hurts me, to be honest with you. I'm still going through the grieving stages of Gigi leaving, and it was January. So it hurts me a wee bit. But I just think he's something totally different to Kyogo. And I think, and I know Ross said it, he said he didn't perform in Europe. He missed that one against Shakhtar. He should have fucking busted in it. And 9 times out of 10 he would have. He probably should have done more, but I just think he's another option for us, and I think he could have played. I think he could have played more, and I think, and I'm not saying that I'm not one of these that's bitter to Ange because he's left now. I think I said it on the podcast in that window. I think Ange probably could have done a bit more with him, maybe a bit an arm around the shoulder and played him a bit. He definitely could have played him more anyway. And I just think I think he was a big cog in the wheel. But in saying that, we've touched on O, and I do agree. I think O looks a real player. I really do. He's nowhere near the finished article, but he's definitely puts himself about in his link-up play and all that sort of the hold-up play and his strength is similar to Gigi in that sense. And he's actually, I think he is better at rolling a defender and kind of linking play. But he's nowhere near as good a finisher. Oh, absolutely, Michael. Absolutely, mate. So for me, I still don't think we should have let him go. But I think the relationship came to a point between him and Ange where there was no option. He had to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And Palm's in there asking about the legs. Hit the like button, people. You know what I mean? Get the legs going. Algorithm, all that stuff. We're having beers and that. But see to be fair,
I'm going to go and like it now.
Yeah, you like it. You like our own podcast. Yes, that's the way to follow. I mean, I don't want to make anyone alarmed here, right? But I'm only in the top 4 things on my topic list, and there's a whole lot to give through. Yeah, so you
might strap in that window because I'm going to pass it.
Open it. Go ahead.
We're going to end up with about 3 years here. We can't do that,
mate. There's sweat forming on my forehead. I'm losing weight doing a podcast. What is going on?
It's not just my forehead, it's forming.
Get the towel.
Oh my God. All right, cool. Roseanne, hit the legs and Willie will do a handstand. Go ahead, Willie. Let's crack in. But I think, to be fair, like, we all miss GG in a way, don't we? GG was a kind of a cult figure at Celtic, and that's fair enough. People move on. He's doing well at Atalanta. I know they have a link up with Aberdeen, so he might end up at Aberdeen. We never know. But we'll move on, right? Obviously, quickly. Can we talk about this quickly?
That's a good point.
What one?
Plunge McNuggets made a good point.
Yeah, 100%. His name makes me hungry every time I look at it. But see, to be fair, what? I was having a shite earlier and looked at my glowing arms losing. Oh my god! I thought that's what you were wanting me to read, man.
You said you're hungry every time you see the name, and I said, "Oh,
no, Plunge McNugget."
I thought we'd say KFC there.
But listen, leave that be. KFC's gone. That's gone. It got blew up. But the introduction. Well, the early introduction of VAR, Willie. We were talking about it, and it was meant to be introduced after the World Cup. It came in early. Summary of VAR and how it's been this season. I mean, we could be here all night. I mean, strap yourselves in. Let's go.
Just seen the big deep breath, Ross. He's
about to fall asleep.
Ross fucking liquidized.
Ross is melting John.
Yeah.
It's fucking Ross. Get a fan in. VAR, I don't think VAR is a problem. I think it's the people controlling it. We've had podcasts before where we've talked about it. He absolutely is, by the way. I'm going. You're in the wall of fame in KFC. He's in your face. That's why he's trying to look like the Colonel.
I like my beard. I don't hurt Monday says.
Got a bow tie on that, man.
Fuck off, Willie, you dickhead. Are you serious? You cheeky cunt.
Listen, I'm fucking golfing at 8 o'clock tomorrow. We need to get this podcast finished.
You bring the podcast with you to the fucking green. That's what you'll be
doing. Aye. In a nutshell, VAR's not the problem. It's the people controlling it.
Golfing. Gimp.
2 3. That's my new YouTube channel, by the way, if anybody wants to get involved.
Golfing Gimp.
If 3, 4, 5 minutes to make a decision which is clear and obvious. And then, I mean, Jota's offside at Motherwell and the rest of it, where it's how can you make a decision based on that is beyond me. I don't think that. What the fuck's a giraffe?
What are you talking about, Anthony? I don't have a clue.
It's not the. How was your dinner, Tony? You're meant to be on here.
Aye, big chief.
He sat at his mum-in-law's dinner table with his pad and his headphones on. I'll just have the chicken nuggets, thanks.
I get Ross's take on VAR, man.
Sorry, Wally.
No, Willie, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
Listen, in a nutshell, aye, like I said, it's the people controlling it, no VAR. 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to make a decision. It's no clear cut. I mean, the rules are just. I don't know how anybody can ref a game now because I don't understand the rules. I thought I knew the handball rule until this year. I thought I knew the offside rule until 2 years ago. I mean, it's not just VAR, it's the rules in football, and we'll not get into the refs. But I mean, it's been a shambles this year. Let's let's face it, it's been a bit of a shambles this year. But I don't think that's all down to VAR. I think it's and to do with the SFA and the people involved. It's just not good enough for our game.
Yeah, we have 6 cameras. One was turned to the dugout, Ross, at Fair Park. The 2 offsides from Tesco's on the other side of the street. The fans don't have Wi-Fi and it doesn't work most of the time, and they're all trying to fix their earpieces. You've got fucking Clancy, you've got Callum, you've got Walsh, you've got McLean, you've got numerous absolute incompetent arseholes who are refereeing our game. And as Willie said, but anyway, I just went way off piece. But as Willie said, it's the people running the product. We're meant to be a professional league. We're rocking about with GoPros in the halfway line to try and make decisions about games. So I mean, it's absolutely shambolic. And we're paying for it the most. Celtic are paying for this product the most. And we're getting royally shafted every time we use it. What's your summary of VAR in Scotland, Ross?
When it first started, it was awful. I think the first game we played was against Hearts at Tynecastle, if I remember right. And that day, we played in this. What are you laughing at?
I hate to put another keg in. The fucking podcast has went on that long.
I'm laughing at myself. I don't know why, but go ahead.
The first game I think we played with VAR was at Tynecastle, the 4-3 game, and that was a shambles that day. And I said then, that VAR was being used exactly how every Celtic fan expected it to be used. Everything went against us that day. Every decision possible went against us that day. And not every decision possible went against us thereafter, but a really, really big chunk of decisions went against us thereafter. And I think people said it'll leaving itself out and stuff like that. And it started to. Towards the end of the season, we did get a couple of decisions.
Jesus, Ross.
Well, this is what I'm coming on to. It started to even out a little bit, but it didn't even out. And the decisions we started to get were, when the league, everybody knew it wasn't mathematically done, but it was more or less done, and we were getting a couple of decisions here and there just to sort of deflect away.
The big fucking on.
But listen,
do you know what that reminds me of? Do you know what that reminds me of? Do you ever watch that episode of Still Game? He's like, it's not where you're fit, it's what you're willing to do.
Fuck's sake.
Holy fuck.
Go ahead, Ross.
Did you get a packet of Skittles before you came on tonight?
Mate, I need a laugh. Go ahead, Ross.
I can't even remember what I was fucking saying.
You're saying about being.
I know.
No wonder you can't mind after that.
I know.
Jumping in.
Pretty much, VAR was a shambles. But the thing that really sticks is every single team, when VAR came in, conceded one or more penalties. In fact, I don't think anybody conceded just one, but Rangers conceded none. And I know that is not VAR specifically. That's sort of looking towards something else in terms of a conspiracy or whatever. But people say it's a conspiracy and all that. But, I mean, before VAR came in, the team that you thought, everybody thought, would get no... If you were asked before VAR came in, right, everybody will concede at least one penalty, but one team will concede no penalties. Every single person, any persuasion, would say Rangers. Unbelievable. That's it.
By the way, I mean, see if you look at some of the... I mean, Burnaby's one was the worst I've ever seen. Was it Dundee United at home?
Dundee
the
United,
Burnaby one was ridiculous.
The
the handball against Hearts as well. But I mean, we're sitting like we're slating the SFA and the people behind it, but it's Europe as well. That Matt O'Reilly one against Real Madrid, where it's came off his elbow at fucking 3 feet away, was ridiculous as well. So it's not just in our game. It's
still water. Absolutely still water.
Shut up, you. You're getting decked, I swear to God. Get that boat back over again for a drink. I'm going to give you a sir jaw. and it's no for laughing.
I won't. I'm quite shy at fighting.
I realised that. But go ahead, Willie.
To be fair with they can, Stephen's got the big Wreck-It Ralph on, so I might get my...
Pause like his tats. Right, on with the real stuff.
Focus.
It's not just SFA. It's your fault, Stephen. You're the one that's jumping in there. Not just SFA, because that one in Europe was, and against Real Madrid was horrendous. I mean, that penalty, how that got given was... So, VAR as a whole, I don't think VAR is a problem. It's the people that work it, and it's the rules. It's a shambles. What's the next subject?
Fuck off, Billy. Fuck off. I totally agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. The VAR, I think it was a strange love.
I didn't want to say what Punch said, but
strange love. The doctor said
it.
It was video assistant Rangers. That's what it was. I think it was the first ever Champions League female ref or something, wasn't it? I don't know.
I think it
was some sort of a record that time. But see, to be honest, well summarised in 10 minutes. I thought that was quite good to basically say. VAR was shite. But we went into the World Cup, Ross, 9 points clear, which was great. Obviously, the World Cup featured 4 Celtic players: Ranovic, Moy, Maeda. Who was the other one? Alistair Johnson.
No, CCV.
No. CCV.
Carter Vickers. Well, there's 4 then, right? So you look at the World Cup, you're on it. I call myself a lot of things, but I'm not an in the know podcaster, right? I'm not sitting running about Celtic Park talking to the bin man. That's not my type of stuff, right? That's for other people.
You're just tweeting the bin man, asking the news.
Rogers isn't coming, right? Just relax.
Yes.
But Ross, World Cup with Celtic players in it, and even as well, let's talk about the timing of this World Cup. And if you want to get into it, the politics side of it, did you like the World Cup being mid-season?
When it was first given to Qatar, I thought, how is this going to work? It can't possibly work. I think they sort of made it work. Did I like it? I was not that fussed either way. It was happening, so I accepted it. I knew it was happening for a long, long time. But then when it comes around, it was actually all right. You still sat and watched it. And I actually enjoyed the World Cup, to be fair. Thought it was a lot of good games. And I like that they brought in this, and they're sort of drip feeding it in slowly. I like that they've brought in this where, okay, the game will go up to 100 minutes or whatever. But the ball will be in play. The ball will be in play for the 90 minutes. And that's how it should be for me. And it'll 100%. Hopefully eventually cut out all this fucking chucking the ball, the fans holding the ball and all the rest of it, and time wasting. And I know it's been part of the game for years, but and when you do it, it's fine. But it's a real bugbear of mine, along with a lot of things where referees fall for things and that. But getting back to your question, I wasn't that bothered when it eventually came around, and actually it broke up the season. I understand why they have the winter break in January. They've done it on and off. It's been done more recently. Having the break, and for the most part, well, most of our squad, obviously apart from the 4, they're still getting that sort of winter break, and they actually enjoyed Christmas with their families, I dare say.
Yep.
But it was certainly, and from a selfish point of view, that sort of winter break in the league, if you like, was more enjoyable watching a World Cup than it is sitting there like I have been for the last week, just twiddling my thumbs and waiting for it all to come back, waiting for Rodgers and his bag of cans. As it was certainly a lot more enjoyable, especially that final. One of the best games of football I've ever watched. It was unbelievable.
What, the Scottish Cup final?
No, the World Cup final, you fucking...
Oh,
okay. That was a tremendous game of football. So, with hindsight, I didn't mind it. For the years building up to it, I just thought it was I don't think it was. It definitely was a money thing that Qatar got that. But they put on whatever, all the stuff outside it, I understand. We'll not go into that. But the actual football and spectacle and the tournament itself was quite good. Let's not ignore what happened to make it happen, and obviously building the stadiums and stuff like that. But the actual spectacle itself was quite good, and I enjoyed it. And I fully expect. Obviously, Willie's touched on the live golf thing and that money makes the world go round. It's king. I fully expect it to be played out that way again in Saudi, probably at some point, and it'll be a Winter World Cup again, and I'll watch it again, and they'll work the league campaign the way they have this season, and it did finish later. And it's weird because you England tonight, for instance, they're not going to play the Man City players who played in the European Cup final last week, which is understandable.
That game finished 2 hours ago.
What, the England game? Did it? I don't follow England, do you know what I mean? I just knew they were playing tonight, but
I think it was the actual Champions League final because we've been on that fucking long night.
I know. But fuck knows.
No, I have to be fair here, right? That's got a bit of decorum, bit of professionalism, boys.
No, what I was going to say there was, it's really weird because the season has went on that bit longer. The Champions League final just got played, and then we're going into the international games. And before you know it, like, we're playing these international games. Some of the players that are playing in the international game have their season finished 3 weeks ago, and then you've got guys who are playing Champions League finals, Scottish Cup finals. Do you know what I mean? Their season is going on, and then they're asked to play international games. Where is the break? Because they'll finish these international games, and then before you know it, it's July, and then you're coming back into pre-season. So they're not going. They're maybe only going to have maybe 2 weeks, which I know that's all we get, but they don't really get much time off throughout the year, throughout the season. They're at it all the time. It's a constant for 10, 11 months, whatever it is. So it's not good. You couldn't do it all the time. And I know the World Cup is only every 4 years, but even at that, you couldn't have the World Cup at December every 4 years. But every maybe, I don't know, 10, maybe more than that. Incrementally, you could have it in Saudi Arabia or the Far East, wherever, and it does work, but for the most part, it needs to be in the summer.
Yeah, totally agree. And what made it special for me, Willie, I mean, I think we did a podcast before it started. I wasn't too fussed, but the Celtic players, I think they made good progress in it. I mean, Juranovic got the semi-final, Mieta got the quarter-final, I believe, and obviously Alistair Johnson was in the mix before he came to us, and Vickers played really well. And you have to look at that as well. That's a good standpoint for the club. That's a good selling point, isn't it? That went on to play international level football and actually performed at an elite level at the World Cup. If you're trying to sell out their player, I think that's a good selling point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't believe Kewell and Hatate didn't make the team, and then I watched a lot of Japan's games, and I was like, these guys would make a massive difference here. I mean, he played Maeda up top. I love Maeda. I think he's unbelievable. The work he does for us is great, but he's for me, he's not a number 9. Kyogo would have been brilliant for them, so that was disappointing to see. But I don't know, it's a strange one. I don't know if I couldn't get up for it. I didn't really get up for the World Cup. I don't know if it's because of the time of the year it was, or because of the circumstances.
I agree.
Or if it's just football now. I mean, watching the World Cup in the 90s and in the early 90s and stuff, with the players and I don't know, football's just a different game now. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as it was when I was younger anyway, and looking back, it's sad that all these players had to retire, and we've got these, for me, the best players in the world. They've not got, can't hold a candle to the guys that when I was younger. So I don't know if it's that as well. But saying that, I agree with Ross. The final was magic, and to see Messi getting his hands in the World Cup was different class. To be fair, because he's the greatest player that's probably ever played in our generation anyway. So that was great to see. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the reason. I can't put my finger on why I couldn't get into it, because every World Cup that's been and gone since I've been a wee laddie, I've tried to watch every single game that's on, and I for some reason this year that wasn't the case. And I don't quite know why that was, but I don't know. Just for me, and maybe it is this whole Celtic thing as well. There wasn't as many involved as I would have liked. I would have, like, if Kyle and Hatate would have went, I'd have been buying a Japan shirt and cheering them on every game.
You would have been there. You would have been there.
I'd have been there, aye. I don't know. I just couldn't get up for it for some reason.
Yeah, see, to be fair, I'm the exact same feelings of that, to be honest. The time of the year I want to watch Celtic play, I think you know my thoughts on international football. For the most part of it, it's absolutely shite. I don't see the need of it during the season. Do it in the summer. Do that type of shit in the summer. I know you're patriotic and stuff. Scotland are playing tomorrow and stuff like that. But the World Cup, in a roundabout way, got some of our players recognised, and that's good for our profile of our club. But I mean, just quickly, Ross, one of the players who did get recognised was Josip Juranovic, and he came back to the World Cup. His head was turned. You knew he was out the door. He went to Union Berlin. I think it was for £8-9 million. We were expecting 15, 16, 17 for him. But to see him go out the door and replaced by Johnson, do you think it's a big as a miss as we thought it would be at that time?
Well, I mean, absolutely not. I don't think that Juranovic is a patch on Alistair Johnson. And Juranovic, he was good in the ball and stuff like that, but I don't think he was good on the ball as everybody thought. Like, you always waited for him to score that beautiful free kick. Have you seen comments coming up that I'm not seeing?
Aye.
I don't think he was as good on the ball. Like, you were waiting for him to have that cultured free kick. I know he was really good at penalties, but he always had opportunities at free kicks, and most of the time they were shit. Do you know what I mean? But like Wally, I think it was Wally had alluded to earlier about Mudryk getting so much joy against him. I don't think he would have got as much joy against Alistair Johnson, but that goal Mudryk scored at Parkhead, I don't think Juranovic was fully at fault at that. I just think that he was getting backed up, and when you're getting backed up against a guy, the sex chair. Is that the way he meant to know? You know,
getting fruity here.
Aye, right,
PG, we're PG in this podcast.
So,
Juranovic,
he was getting backed up and stuff like that. So he couldn't do a lot about that. But I've always said that as much as Ange has, and I know we've not got Ange now, but at the time, as much as we had fullbacks that were playing the inverted fullback, the Christian grey chair. Well, I am a Christian, the chair is grey, so. But aye, Angie, I'm getting totally thrown here, but Angie's fullbacks were attacking fullbacks in the sense they play inverted and all the rest of it. But for the most part, their primary job for me, and I want them to do that really well, is defend. Excuse me. And Alistair Johnson does that far, far, far better than Juranovic ever did. And going forward, the first couple of games and stuff, I always said, he's nowhere near the level of Juranovic, going the other way. But actually, he's a lot closer than certainly I gave him credit for. I still don't think he's as, like, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not. There's a different word I'm looking for, but he's not as accomplished. He's not as comfortable on the ball as a Juranovic. But you just need to look at that pass as an example against. I think it was the 3-2 game against Rangers. It was 0-0 at the time. It was early in the game. He plays that curled, like, ball in. Kyle goes just offside, but Kyle takes it down, puts the ball in the net. That was an absolutely tremendous ball. And he digs crosses out, similar to sometimes how you seen last season Ralston doing it. But he's a lot better going forward than I actually gave him credit for. And all round, he's a far, far, far better player than Juranovic for me. So we got 9 or 10 million for Juranovic, and we certainly used it really well in replacing him. And that's what Ange was all about. okay, we've made the case there. We've maybe not replaced Giakoumakis with a better player, but he has got that ceiling that's higher. But I don't think there's any doubt that we replaced Juranovic, who we all thought was brilliant, with a better player.
I totally agree with you. And see this kind of come quick fire to you, Willie. Just pretty simple. Juranovic or Alistair Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson all day for me. I've touched on it before. How I think JJ was our kind of similar to Alexander Arnold at Liverpool in a way. I think technically he's very good, but I don't think right back's probably his best position. I think he's probably better. And I said it when he first joined. When he got a run of games, I thought this guy could play centre mid, or he's very good with the ball. He's very good technically, but for me and my fullback, I want an old-fashioned, hard tackling defender, as Ross says, that can do it going forward. For me, and I'm not saying he's shut up, you. I'm not saying he's. I don't know. He's fucking had the Skittles tonight and a few cans, and he's away.
Skittles and Smarties.
I'm not saying he's anywhere near he's nowhere near as good as KT, but he reminds me of KT in the fact that he doesn't struggle a challenge, and he's old school fullback. And I totally agree with what Ross is saying. What Ross is saying about how he's going forward. And I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he played as like a right centre back in a back three before he came to us. So I still think he's learning his trade about going forward. But he's done a fabulous job, and I honestly do think it's been an upgrade. It really has. I think he's magic, and he's quickly become one of my favourite players. And all the stuff you see in social media as well, he's totally bought into the club. Totally
appreciate them.
Totally. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that, mate. He's totally bought into the club. His interview on the pitch after the Scottish Cup final was magic. He's totally bought into the culture. He was saying aye and all that. And the last year was like, what were you saying? You say aye there? He said, oh yeah, Greg Taylor's been teaching me. I say aye now.
His mum is from where I live, which I didn't even know.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get a shirt autograph for that now?
I was round tonight, and she told me that Brendan Rodgers will not be the manager. Just spit later.
Oh, foxtrot.
Well, I hope you fucking laid her out.
Don't be saying that about Mr. Johnson's mum. Come on, Willie.
That interview was brilliant. He's bought into the club, bought into the culture. The boys came in and fucking 5 months won 3 trophies. Definitely an upgrade for me.
I mean, 5 months of 3 trophies. Compare that to 50 years and 2 trophies with Tavernier and Bart.
I compare that to the Hall of Famer on the other side of the city.
Hall of Famer.
Next to nothing.
Wow, that's incredible. Look, I just want to be funny. I want to tell you, right? I am aware. I'm aware that we're nearly 2 hours in. Okay, but I'm so happy that people have stuck with us. You know yourselves when we do these Fridays podcasts, especially with these two clowns, these two. We go full out. Like, we just have a laugh. We have a few cans. Ross is sweating. Willie's sweating. I'm sweating. It's all good crack. But I mean, after the World Cup,
arse is soaking.
VA arses, yes. After the World Cup, Ross, we come back. We were 9 points clear, and the likes of Rio, Hatate, Kalmak was back from injury. Kewell had top form. To take us through that Christmas period, the January time, making up for the games we lost, how vital were them players in terms of our success? Obviously, you look around the team, Vickers was coming back from injury. Rio was probably beforehand wasn't hitting top form, but obviously the break he had not going to Japan helped him. Kalmak recovering, and then Kewell. After that World Cup break, he was on fire. He had a point to prove, and he took it.
Aye, he would. Giakoumakis left. Kyogo just. Giakoumakis left. Kyogo just went. He was sort of doing this. Get my hand into the screen there. He was doing this. He was kind of up, down. But then Giakoumakis left, and he just went like that for Christmas. The league was done. He just, every big game, there was question marks. He hadn't really done it against Rangers, and then he got the equaliser in the New Year derby. He got the 2 in the final. He got another 2, I think, in the 3-2 game.
Yep.
The games, the big games, he was pivotal, and that's why he got the nod for Player of the Year for me, because that back end of the season, getting the goals in the games where it was tight at times, you have to say, he came up trumps for us. I can't mind what other players you'd mentioned there.
Rio and Cal.
Rio, well, listen, Cal McGregor does what Cal McGregor does. We lost him for a short period of the season where O'Reilly came in, and he came in and played that number 6 role, and he was outstanding. And you have to say, to O'Reilly's credit, we didn't really miss our captain that much. That is massive credit.
That's massive. You'll never see anything like this again.
Aye,
that was horrendous. That's
podcast.
You know it's horrendous if you're part of Stephen. Shut up.
I'm the funniest of the group, man. 100%. Go ahead, Ross.
No.
That's the funniest thing you've been right.
Mate, I'm a witty. I'm banter. That's it.
Right. What the fuck was I saying again?
I love Ross in this, but Ross is your Billy Connolly. Not there, but he goes off on 74 tangents, then comes back to the story, and it's like, aye, we're back where we are.
Look at this, Mark, your beard. Man, what's going on, Mark? Come on. Ham knows it. Ham's a grain.
In the skies. Are you Monty
in the skies? Are you Monty? Are you... Right. But same question to you, Willie. Ross forgot where he was. That's no problem. He'll get back into it again after we sip that pint. But how vital was it after the World Cup that the likes of Rio, the likes of Calmac, Kewell found top form to take us through that sticky period, Christmas time and things like that, and basically propel us to the league title?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing about I said I couldn't get into the World Cup, but and the timing of it as well. But I mean, that's one thing that worked wonders in our case, because I'm pretty sure Calmac was injured at the time, wasn't he, when the World Cup was? So it gave him time to recover. For me, Calmac and Rio Hatate are the 2 best players in the league by a country mile. Well, maybe not a country mile. Kyogo's a close second. I can't pick between Calmac and Rio. For me, they're the 2 best in the league. I think you're missing something when you take one of them at the team. So yeah, it was massive for them to kind of get the rest and then kick us on. But I mean, ever since the St Mirren defeat, it only looked like there was going to be one team that were ever going to even get close to the league, and it was us. We absolutely went on a tear, and these guys were colossal in that. And that's what worries me about this season coming up. What are you laughing at?
No, don't want to know. I just farted.
Okay. Well, you just tell me. You're not worse, Stephen. It worries me this season. There's certain players that if they went, I wouldn't be too disappointed, but there's certain players that I'd be devastated by, and we've named a couple of them there. Like I've always said, I think Rio Hatate is going to be like world class. I think he'll be playing at the elite level that I talked about earlier with certain clubs, and I hope we keep him for a long time, because he's just magic. Yeah,
the players that we mentioned there, they were vital to the success. I mean, the first piece of silverware that we got, Willie, was the League Cup final against Sevco. Obviously, Michael Beale was chomping his wee lips, calling Postecoglou a lucky man and money to spend and all that type of stuff. And basically, Kyogo stole the show again, Willie, didn't he? And I know what you're saying as well. Like you spoke about it earlier, we all thought that the margins of the game would be bigger and grand, and do you know what I mean? But it doesn't really work out like that. We won the most important games. We beat them in the final. We beat them 4-0 in the first league game. And I really think, to me, that was like the final nails in the coffin once we got that League Cup final over and done, and we were celebrating, and we were on our way to a treble.
That was an important one because all the motor mouthing before it Sakala calling us the other mob,
Mm.
and all the rest of it, adding fuel to the fire. So that was a big one for us. And to be fair, they gave like I said, fuel to the fire. They gave us all the impetus to go out and absolutely destroy them. And Calmac and the gaffer, as usual, humble as you like, saying, "Listen, we just concentrate in the game. We do our talking on the pitch, and the results will show." And that's exactly what happened. And Kyogo, I mean, Dembele was earmarked as a Hun scalper, but I think Kyogo needs to take that title now because the boy scores goals for fun against him. He just always seems to be in the right place at the right time. And that final, I felt it was a strange one. I mean, talking to Ross as well after it, and in the podcast, and Ross said the same. It kind of felt like once they got their goal to make it 2-1, if I believe, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed like on social media and that from the other side, and fans are saying that they were the better side and we were clinging on. And I was like, no, not at all. I don't know why it came off that game because I thought we were by far the better side. And yeah, that was massive. Again, there's 7 or 8 turning points in the season, but that was a big one. Beale coming in, and they did have a change of form with him coming in, and they're not a bad side. They're just nowhere near our level.
He's about to fall asleep. Like
I know, I'm all right. Just been working hard all week.
Painting brushes and that. But I get what you're saying in terms of the final. Like, let's be honest here. We're not a million miles ahead of them, right? We won the treble and stuff like that, but we need to improve and keep improving, Ross. And Willie made a great point. And I like this point. We all expected after that 4-0 game we would go on and kind of whip them and be all that type of stuff. And Kyogo, Pam, wakey, Ross. Kyogo beforehand scored twice in the League Cup final against Hibs, a brace. He repeated the same feat against Rangers. And yeah, they got their goal and were maybe riding the crest of a wave in the last 20 or so minutes, but that's to be expected in these games. They're cup finals, right? I mean, we can't get away from that fact. Teams are going to have chances. I mean, we're going to command it in about another 2 hours. Inverness had chances against us. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying so hard, by the way, to make this go as quick as possible, so I do apologise if you're wreck.
Well, you're doing the fucking worst job possible.
But that League Cup final, Ross, were you with each other? Did you watch it together?
We watch every game together, aye.
Pretty much, aye.
So, how did it make you feel getting that first piece of silverware over the line?
Similar to when we won the League Cup the season before. I don't know about the Aberdeen thing it's got to do with it, but it was similar to the year before, and that it was massive. It gives you that sort of psychological edge, and I thought on the day, just touching on what Willie had said in terms of after it, I was perplexed that people were saying, certainly more coming from the Rangers side and certainly the media, that Celtic were sort of hanging on and Rangers were the better team. I did not see it that way. I thought for the first 60 minutes or so, I thought we were outstanding and we played Rangers off the park completely. Okay, no, I thought we played Rangers off the park, and I thought, by the way, Aaron Moy was outstanding, absolutely outstanding in that game. We took the game away for Rangers. We're up 2-0, and then you expect Rangers have to throw caution to the wind. They came back at us. They huffed it. It's a final. You expect that, but. Yeah, it's a final and you expect that. Celtic had shown that they were the better football team and they scored 2 goals, 2 really good goals. For fuck's sake, I'm trying to make a point here.
Day 43 in the Endless Celts Podcast.
Ross has fell asleep.
I don't even know. I've got a corpse now.
Sorry, Ross. Go ahead, mate. Go.
No, but Celtic in that game outplayed Rangers, showed they were the better team by far on the day. It's a final. Rangers had to throw caution to the wind. They tried their best to get back into it. And by the way, they've done a good old job at it, because they got a goal. And you have to say the Sakala chance was gilt-edged. If that goes in, it's a different. It could be a different outcome, because Rangers get the impetus off the back of that. Celtic are maybe deflated for losing a 2-goal lead. But this is the difference. What we spoke about in the Champions League, where if you're not clinical enough, you'll get punished by a better team. And that's exactly what happened. Celtic were more clinical, and they done that on numerous occasions against Rangers last season, where they punished Rangers at every opportunity that they had. And on the day, Celtic were the better team. They deserved to win the trophy. And everybody outside of Celtic can make all the noise they want and say what they want. But I've seen enough football to say to know that we were the better team on the day. Rangers, as I say, threw caution to the wind, and you expected it. But Celtic gave it the okay, right, you're going to come at us, that's fine. And they did have a right good go. But let's not forget, and I know I've made the point earlier in the podcast, that we aren't a counter-attacking team, but we counter-attacked Rangers really well that day, and we actually could have got two or three. I know, what a little push I thought, but we could have got 2 or 3 goals off the back of not deliberately playing that way, because you have to credit Rangers, they made us sort of play that way because they came at us, but we could have picked them off at times. I think I'm saying we're not a counter-attacking team. I still don't believe that we are, and we couldn't play that way in their games, but it was that point where Rangers were really throwing everything at it, and that's why we were picking them off, not because we were brilliant at counter-attacking, because they were leaving spaces at the back. See, if you do that to me one more time, I'm going to swim out to Ireland. Anyway, Celtic won the cup. That was the first trophy in the bag, and we move on to the 17th stage of the 100 stage podcast.
Listen, they might not have been clinical this year, but they're in danger next year, because they've just spent $4 million on a boy that scored about 4 goals in 6 seasons. So we're in bother.
That's not how much they paid for that Lammers guy.
$3.5 million, I think it is, mate. Aye.
Wow. Fucking hell,
he scored 2 goals in 4 years.
I know.
Mental. But if you mentioned Sakala, he missed the whiff of the net by a gap in his teeth. It's quite fucking hilarious. And by the way, Pam, I wasn't doing that on purpose to Ross. Let's be honest there. Do you not know what that's from? Do you watch the episode of Still Game?
When it's like hard.
I know, but I'm saying, this is what I'm trying to say. Where Winston's like, he's sitting in with Jack and Victor and that, and they're talking about who's hard and all. Not that way. I mean, like, fighting ways and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. Right, we won the League Cup. First trophy in the bag, Willie. And just on a quite funny note, one of your favourite songs of the season came out around then by Ellie Dixon. Jota on the wing. Jota on the wing. I put that in the top of this, but how do you feel it?
I just thought I was doing the Bems bit. I thought that's what you'd said.
I don't know if it was the cup final or the last derby game where I was playing that on the guitar and you jumped in with the Bems bit. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Just quickly, do you like the song?
Oh, it's the best song I've ever heard. It's been living in my head rent-free for the past 8 months.
Can you give me a verse?
No, we've not got time.
What do you mean? We've got loads of time. Come on.
It's 2024. We've already won another treble.
Right, let's go. Right, come on, Ross. Right, end of season. We're at it. Right. We're here. We're ready.
Come on, it's him fucking holding it up.
We're here, right? We're flying. We're heading towards the league. We had a bit of a bumpy period, losing to Hibs, drawing to St Mirren again, all that type of stuff. But you guys, basically, I mean, fuck me. You just have to calm me down all the time. When it matters, Celtic turn up. League day, we played Aberdeen at home. We smashed them. We won the league title. The support were going crazy. 2 in a row. Basically, how did it make you feel? And as a Celtic supporter as well, again from that 10 season, which we were absolutely shocking. We've won 2 titles in a row, and I think that's absolutely fantastic.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, people are pissed off with the way they're pissed off with Ange and saying he done all the chest beating and all the rest of it. But
Well, he did.
Whatever you want to say, he walked into Celtic and it was a complete shit show. And anybody who knows football, so obviously I didn't know football because I felt that we could still win the league that year. But listen, if we were being real, he's walked into a shit show, and it was a huge, huge job. There's a fly in here, by the way. It was a huge job. Just in case you think I had a twitch or something.
I thought you were raging to raving to Jot on the wing there.
Here.
Jot on the wing.
No, he came in and it was an absolute shit show, and he turned us around. He turned us around, and not even a summer window. He turns around enough to. It took us obviously a few games at the start of that first season, but then once we got going, we never looked back. And he said we would come back bigger, better, and we did. And for to go for what you've said, the 10 season where it fell apart, like big time, to then come in and do what we've done in the last 2 years is incredible. But at the same time, not taking away from Celtic at all, but we allude to the fact that we can't compete with teams in the Champions League because of money. And you have to say it's similar for teams like, well, every team in Scotland, even Rangers. We've been through it trying to compete with them, and they were spending all the money, and half the time it wasn't illegal. But listen, if you've got the biggest budget, you expect, for the most part, you're going to be right there at the top, challenging for every single trophy. And off the back of the 10, I knew we still had the biggest budget, and I knew even at that late stage that Ange could come in, or whoever was coming in could still turn it around. Because, I mean, we still had decent players, some decent players at the club. Listen, taking nothing away, what Ange done, came in and turned it around, and then to bring us to that point where we'd won another League Cup and then we won the league. It was an absolutely incredible feat, and he's left us in an unbelievable position for hopefully another elite manager to come in and carry on what he built. And listen, I don't know if this team's better than the Rodgers team, but I think Rodgers walking into this will be more happy than when he walked in after Dyla left. And I know there was a lot of good players in that team, and he coached them to be better. Listen, I'm not saying for a second that Rodgers is a better manager than Ange Postecoglou, but look what Rodgers done with that team when he came in after Dyla. I think they were a lesser team than what we've got right now. I'm really excited, and I really, really hope that it's him and we didn't have this fucking house situation, and I hope it gets announced. I don't know. It's probably got to be Monday now, but if it's no Monday, I hope it's Tuesday, and if it's no Tuesday, fuck knows what I'm going to do.
It's going to be Scott Brown. It's Scott Brown's come back.
We'll miss the announcement anyway because we'll still be on this.
Why are we enjoying it? Are we enjoying it?
I'm loving it. I can go for about 3 4. I can go for 4 hours, but
we're all
one can left.
See, the funny thing is, we went down to 19 people watching live. We went down to 19 people. Now we're up to 27. So people are coming back in. The doors are open. It's fine. So, Willie, as I said, the roster, and he nailed it perfectly. McGranda also nailed it perfectly. Who's still watching? Great to have you watching us still. Whilst we were winning trophies and we won the league at Celtic Park, Big Ange was planning his getaway. Right? And that's not. He was, mate. That's be honest there, right?
No, he wasn't.
Mate, just because you have the pillow and you're trying to sell it on Etsy or something, it doesn't matter, right? It's fine. He's gone now. We can say it. These things don't take 2 days. They take weeks. And Ross, don't you pipe in about Rodgers, right? I know what you're wanting to do right now. Don't do it. Do not do it.
Please let me.
No. 2 in a row, Willie. Feelings, accomplishments, achievements. I think it ranks up there, especially after the shit show he walked into.
Oh, absolutely. He's walking into the same at Spurs, to be fair. I don't want to talk about that, but that's exactly what he's walking into, and it seems like he's a specialist in that. But I don't know if I can go for hours. Usually only about 5 minutes.
Wow. What's it, mate? Preach
what?
it.
Preach what?
5 minutes. It's me.
Oh, yeah, sister. What? He's walked in and turned the club. He's worked miracles, to be fair. And he's delivered. I mean, winning trebles isn't easy. It's an absolute mine's isn't, Mark. I've got plenty on.
Golfing, big gimp.
No, I'm not. I am watching it. I think we should do a Endless Celts special where me and you just fight. And we'll just film it live. We'll let the viewers decide what clothing's worn and where it is and how we do it. But I think we should.
No clothing.
Right.
That's
done. Done.
Yeah.
Deal. We've been there and done that, but we'll do it again.
Right, boys.
Aye. Well, he's turned the club around, and I don't think that he did. I don't think he came in here with a thought of moving on, or I don't think anything like that's came into his mind until the opportunities come along, and then he's had to seriously consider it. I don't think he's ever seen. I personally, people can obviously feel how they feel, but personally, I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's came in thinking we're a stepping stone. I think he's came in, and he's worked absolute miracles at the club. Ross is absolutely bang on. Rodgers is coming into a totally different side he came into first time. I don't think he needs to do much with regards to recruitment, just a few, and he's already got a ready-made team here. He doesn't need to rebuild. It's a totally different scenario to what Ange or he came into last time. Excuse me. He's left us in the best place. Is that a wee dart you just threw there? Fucking hell, Stephen. And
did you hear that?
Aye, of course I did. I seen you fucking lifting your cheek, you dirty sausage roll. He's left us in the best position possible, and I couldn't think anybody better coming in. I know we're not meant to talk about it, but I couldn't think anybody better coming in the calibre as Brendan Rodgers. So fantastic, 2 in a row, just what we wanted, and then obviously we've got to touch on it, but we went on to further glory. Trebles are not easy. I know, and this most recent memory, and as like Franny likes to say, Stephen's generation think that trebles are easy come by, but they certainly are not. And Ange made it look very, very easy this year, and that's a testament to the job he's done at the club.
Yeah. Do you know something, Willie? I'm not even going to bite to that comment. I'm not even going to bite to it.
You just did.
No, I really didn't. Let's be fair here. I didn't bite. My generation understand, because we've been told about the 90s, the struggles, all that. We know that. Trebles are not easy, right? They're not easy. The fact that we only broke the world record this year is quite incredible, to be honest. And Ross coming under the world record, one of the only times this season we've all been together. And Cena was thinking as well, could you imagine if Anthony was on this podcast? He would have nosebleed, wouldn't he? He would proper he'd freak out. 50 minutes in, he'd be doing the outro. But we were all together, bar Anthony, which was unfortunate. We all wanted him to come in, but obviously busy in that.
I did, Mark.
It was an incredible day, Willie. To be fair to you, buddy, you put on probably one of the best days I've had in years. Barbecues and drinks and laughs and music, and your big Irish mate Dan, he is incredible, by the way. Love him. But Ross, sum up that day for you, what it meant, and again, a historic 8th treble, which is a world record, and it can't be sniffed at.
Can't mind it, mate. Listen, it was from start to finish. I think everybody knew how the day was going to go, but and it's great respect to Inverness. I think we all knew we were going to beat them. Listen, I was one of the ones that said on the podcast before the game, I think I said 8-0. I did say 8-0. It didn't transpire. But listen, Celtic didn't perform as well as they have done throughout the season. And you could maybe make the case that possibly the players knew or they had an inkling that Ange was going to go. That was on their mind. But even if it was, they're far, far better than Inverness, and they were going to win that game anyway. They didn't perform amazing on the day, but they got the job done no matter what was going on in the background. Alistair Johnson has said before it, we don't let the noise in. You have to say that they probably did to an extent, but not enough that they were not going to come up trumps against an Inverness team who is currently are a league below them. But to get another treble, incredible. I mean, I've said it before. I think back to when they done the first treble I can remember, and that was obviously 2000-2001 season under Martin O'Neill, and that was an incredible achievement. I didn't know at the time how many trebles Celtic had done pre that. Obviously couldn't remember any of them, but it was, I've said again before that I'd seen in my Celtic sporting life that I could remember, I'd seen Celtic winning 3 trophies. For Celtic to win 3 trophies in the one season was
mad, aye.
It was outrageous that they'd got the haul that I'd seen in one season. But then you wait so long again, and it's such a difficult thing to do. And I know that people make the case, well, Celtic are winning all these trebles. We are really, really poor Rangers, but you still have to win all the games. You have to not lose a cup game. You have to not have an off day and a one-off game where anything can happen. You have to do that, and they done that for 4 seasons running, and won 4 trebles. Then again, they've done it this season. The 2 cup competitions, however many games it is, you have to win every single game. You have to be at it all the time and not have an off day to win the cups. And they achieved it again, and it's incredible that we were sitting here 7 years ago behind Rangers by 4 trebles, and we're now 1 ahead of them. But we're behind, and listen, we're putting the old Rangers and the new Rangers trophy haul added together, right, for this. But we're sitting here and we're on, we 1 league title behind Rangers at the minute.
But we're overtook them in trophies, I believe.
Aye, listen, this is how it feels to be Celtic. Champions again,
Champions
as you know.
again, don't you know?
Brendan Rodgers is here for 56.
for 10 in a row.
No, he's here for 56, kid. He's here for 56.
And then West Brom will come and get him. West Brom will come and get him.
No,
But Willie, like Ross said there, like the media forget we done a quadruple treble, right? The circumstances of the world record treble has been swept away because of what happened. Obviously, the aftermath.
Yep.
And I find that incredible. Like, we won the quadruple, we heard nothing. We've won the world record treble, we've heard nothing. And also, as well, to you, how fitting was it that Abada, Jada, Kyogo, free and signings sealed that world record treble? I think that's, if you're going to leave, that's a perfect gift to leave, isn't it?
So who scored that? I can't even mind the day, to be honest with
you. You were crying at your bar. You were sobbing because I kept telling you Ange was leaving.
Because you kept telling me Ange's gone, yeah. Sausage roll. I mean, like you say, Man City have just won a treble and everybody's still going on about it, and everybody will probably still go on about it for the next fucking however long. But we've managed our 8th, and it seems like it's lost in the memory. Unfortunately, all the talk of Ange and then Brendan coming in is kind of don't do nuggets at KFC. Kind of
Fuck me.
kind of overshadowed it, which is unfortunate. It's an incredible achievement. I do think that, myself included, take it for granted because of what we've done over the last 4 or 5 years. Like Ross, when I was a boy, we were getting pumped. We weren't winning any league titles. We lived through the original Rangers 9 in a row seasons, and we weren't winning a thing. So to be living through it now is magic. It's the best. This is the best club in the world, and for us to achieve what we've achieved yet again, it's absolutely extraordinary. It really is. And the team we've got now is so exciting. I don't think I've ever, other than Martin O'Neill's team, I don't think I've ever felt as connected to a team that we've had, to be honest with you. Tommy Burns' team is very, very close as well, to be fair. But I don't think I've ever felt as connected. And it's I just hope we can keep at least the nucleus together. I really, really do. And if the rumours are to be true, I'm so excited for what's coming. I honestly cannot tell you that the state I was in a week ago when Ange left, and I know it's ridiculous, and it is so ridiculous how much I put into this football club that I love, but I genuinely went through every emotion possible, and it was proper grieving. When Ange left, I was devastated for a couple of days, to the point my wife was texting me saying, "Listen, I know it's hard. You'll get over it. When the new manager comes in, you'll be fine." Being genuinely, because I was that devastated. It's ridiculous. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what this football club does to me and how invested I am. I've went through that stage. I went through the anger stage. Now I'm at peace with it. I wish them all the best. But this news has had me over the moon, because to get, and we'll go into it when he does eventually sign and we react to it, but to get a manager of that calibre in is absolutely incredible. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds, because without getting ahead of ourselves, with that man at the helm, I think we've got a few more trebles coming in the future. And that's not like, it's a tall ask, it really is, but I mean, this guy's special as well, and with this team we've got now, I just think we can keep blowing teams away. Anything can happen in any given game. It's been proven in the past. But the future's bright, and the future's not orange.
That's great white, buddy. But see, to be fair, I think you've perfectly summed it up. I mean, we all know. I mean, I think it was Plunge McNugget said there after Ange left that you noticed the kind of media brushing away the treble achievements, the focus on the Postecoglou kind of aftermath, and Legranda's in the comments. He's starting to cry after your speech, Billy. But see, to be fair, I mean, we've actually came to the end of the podcast. I think you summed up Anne's leaving. I think all of us went through all the emotions. And yeah, I understand people come in tonight and wanted to talk about Rodgers. But as I said at the start of the show, in the middle of the show, there was no point, because every other podcast, every other outlet's done that. And we're going to react when the news is proper and it's out there in the open. And as much as we would like to regurgitate and stuff like that, we will Monday and stuff we'll talk about, obviously. If it's not confirmed by them, we'll still talk about the managerial situation. But Ange has left, boys. Just a quick one with yourself, Ross. I mean, Willie summed up his emotions. How you feeling now after a week and a half, 2 weeks on? I mean, me and you looked at each other after the final whistle, and we kind of named that he's away. He's away.
Aye. Listen, you knew. Willie knew as well, but he just didn't want to. He wasn't accepting it. No, listen. Now, a week on, I wish him all the best, of course I do, but I even felt like that a week ago when he left. I wished him all the best for what he'd done at the club. I wanted him to give us another year, and I think he would have stayed at least another year. Listen, by all accounts, Brighton had showed interest. He never went. Leeds had showed interest. He never went. He just could not walk away from that Spurs opportunity. He just couldn't. And he couldn't foresee that he would get that opportunity. Nobody foreseen it. Not one is. There's no, as I've said before, there's no Celtic manager in certainly in my time, supporting the club, who have been afforded an opportunity to go to a top 6. And Spurs are, they're not a bigger club than Celtic, but they're a top 6 English club, and they've got a really high ceiling. And with Ange at the helm, backed in his style of play, I think they could really do something.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say special, because if they don't win a trophy, which by the way is quite possible, but I think the Spurs fans will get on board with him if he plays the style of football that he played with us, because that's what Spurs want. They've been craving it for ages. They've had these elite managers, the Contes and the Mourinhos, but they guys play a defensive style. Let's not get beat first. That's not the Spurs way. It isn't the Celtic way. I think he's looked at it and went, this is another club like Celtic that's suited to the way I want to play. The fans will get on board with it if they give me a wee chance. But listen, in terms of Celtic, he's a small part of our history. He could have been a much larger part, but he's in that elite club, winning a treble.
Yep.
And he's done that in 2 years. And for the width of a crossbar, he might have been a double treble winner. So Ange Postecoglou, I thank you for everything you've done for the club. I wish you'd stayed longer, because you're that good. You couldn't miss this opportunity. And I know he's not listening, I'm talking to him like he is, but fuck it.
He's listening.
But aye, listen, he's went on to a really big opportunity, and I thank him for everything he's done. And I just hope that it is, like it's been reported, that it's going to be Brendan Rodgers that comes in, because there is no other candidate. There's no other manager, certainly in the list that was in front of us. He is the outstanding candidate. Whatever people want to say about Brendan Rodgers, however he left, stuff like that, everybody's got their own opinions. I've got my own opinion. But the facts are, he is the best candidate by a country mile. And if we get him over the line, kudos Celtic, kudos the Celtic board, and bring it on.
Yeah, I know, 100% echo what you're saying. I mean, for me personally, like, I called it before. Like, I did. I thought he would have left, and the whole. I'm not saying. Look, I'm not saying. I told you so. Not. I did say I was quite consistent. No, when the Spurs' interest was peaking, I mean, as Ross said, it's a de facto top 6 club. We have to be realistic, and if he's going to get that call, he's going to be moving. And for me, he done incredible for us. He picked us up from the depths of despair. We were devastated after that 10 season, and he came in and he had to rebuild a team from literally ashes, and he'd done that, and he molded a team into playing a certain way. He led us to a league title in his first season, League Cup, and then a treble. It's nothing to be sniffed at. But I do want to reiterate something, and I know you guys might be different to me, but I do not give two flans shits what he does down in England. He's not associated with us no more. I'll be backing whoever comes in as the Celtic manager next, and we all know or hope that it's going to be Brendan Rodgers. And to bring in a caliber manager like that, and people are laughing at him that he got sacked from Leicester, but this guy took Leicester to the two fifth place finishes in the EPL, Charity Shield, an FA Cup, and a semi-final in the Conference League. So again, he's not diminished. His reputation's fine, and I think we were all kind of shocked that he wasn't considered for the Spurs job. I think Ross, Willie, I think he's said it before about that. But
it was nailed
again,
on,
yeah, but we'll come to that again probably next week in terms of the whole Rodgers speculation. Hopefully, it's confirmed by then. But have you enjoyed the podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, mate. Aye.
I mean, it was a Celtic podcast and a fucking comedy extra, absolute shit talk. Oh, there it is.
Just looking forward to seeing.
Jesus, he's here. He's signing the contract.
Just looking forward to seeing all these beautiful human beings and these unbelievable character. I mean, they've got great character, all these people. Especially Pam. Pam's my favourite.
Oh, man.
I'll be signing Wednesday.
Wednesday lunchtime.
Well, see, to be fair,
heard it here first.
I want to let everyone know you are all beautiful human beings, and thanks for sticking with us. Until Monday, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.
A great character.